lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our Wednesday live stream only here on YouTube. This is like the VIP show of the Paranormal Portal, and those of you that show up, well, you're just the VIPs. So, very important people, and of course, you're very important to us. We're thrilled you're here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. This is Wednesday evening, or Hump Day's Eve.
Hump Day!
Hump Day's Eve. And before I go any further, might as well welcome my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard, to the show.
Hola, happy Wednesday.
Hey, how's your week going?
Hey, Mike, guess what day it is?
Oh, God. Hey, Mikey. Yeah.
Mikey. It's been a good week so far. So far, you know, it went fast. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday went fast. And I was happy that today came. And here we are enjoying another episode of, the Paranormal Portal.
The Paranormal Portal, which is what you are tuning into right now, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm just closing a lot of extraneous windows that we don't quite need right now.
Stuff you don't need.
Stuff we don't need just right at this moment. But we're already off and a run, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the show. And we came off of just some amazing shows this last weekend.
Oh, gosh.
We had Duncan on Friday, and it was a fantastic show. And it was a little different speed for the Portal. It was more about the world stage more so than paranormal, but still it has to do with the cabal, which has to do with paranormal and occult, dark occult practices. So it kind of all ties in. It was a great show, though, and we heard a lot of great feedback from you guys, so I appreciate that.
Yep, it was great. It was awesome.
You know, it's just a little different speed for us, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And, of course, Duncan's been a long-time friend of the show and part of the TFR Live family, which is, he's a regular on Chris Everard's Enigma Radio, rather. Yeah, and so and I've had the pleasure of being on the Enigma radio channel with Duncan and Chris Everhard. And this Friday night, ladies and gentlemen, 2 nights away, or 3 nights away, I guess the third night. I don't know. But Chris Everard will be joining us here on the Portal. And you'll get a chance to meet him. We'll be discussing the Ouija board. And now, if you're not familiar with Chris Everard, he is a man that has absolutely dedicated himself and his time and energy into exposing secret histories, ancient cultures. He is one of the most prolific documentarians of our time. Yep. And he owns and operates the Enigma TV. So if you go to enigmatv.com, you can see what he does and the quality and the passion that this man has for what he's doing. And he does you know, shows on documentaries and shows on the paranormal and on the unknown and on you know, UFOs and in our history, and just an amazing guy. And he's like a walking encyclopedia.
That guy is super smart too.
I mean, literally, if you tune in on Friday, you're going to hear me go, oh, wow. Oh. And that'll be about all I'll use my microphone for, because once he gets started, he's just a treasure trove of information.
Yep.
And he everything he has to say has merit to the conversation, and he will spout facts. He will spout details and histories and little quirks of history that you'll never have heard before.
Right.
And we certainly encourage you, if you're interested in all of this, to check out Enigma TV as well, because it's a subscription program that he's got on enigmatv.com. You can check it out. It'll be, there's thousands and thousands of hours of documentaries and regular weekly series that he's put together as well.
Digestible formats.
Right. I mean, he's just so busy. I know I've been busy, and especially lately with the portal, it's just been eating up so much of my time. And then I compare what I'm doing to what this man does, and I feel absolutely lazy. I do. I mean, he is such an achiever and such an amazing guy, but very intelligent and, very personable as well. So, excuse me. It'll be a real pleasure to have him on the show, and I'm really looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. So that'll be Friday night on the portal, and then on Saturday, once again, back by popular demand, the bear will return to the portal.
The bear.
And we're going to get into more of the question and answer stuff that we didn't have a chance for on the bear's last appearance on the show. But, it was just such an amazing show, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. Even though we didn't end up covering a lot of actual questions, we did get just a boatload of information.
Yep.
And insight into what's going on with this beautiful creature. The Bigfoot is nothing short of an amazing animal or being or whatever it's qualified as. There are people that think, they're very human, and there are people that think they're, very animalistic. But if they are, they're incredibly intelligent, they're incredibly strong, incredibly quick, they're incredibly cunning. And they are literally the ninjas of the forest. I mean, if they want to be seen, they'll be seen. If they don't want to be seen, you won't see them.
You'll never see them.
They are known to walk through thick brush. I mean, just amazingly thick brush and not make a sound. And that is nothing short of an incredible achievement, achieved only by the big cats, I think, outside of, in the animal kingdom, the big cats can do the same thing. They can move very, very, very silently through what would seem like incredible obstacles. And the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Booger, whatever you want to call them, are reported to be the same in their ability and their, So we didn't get a lot of the way through the question and answer stuff on the last show, but again, it was just an incredible experience, and it's just always a pleasure to have the bear on the show. So we're looking forward to that as well. So that's kind of the laundry list. Now, if you're just joining us and you're not really familiar with the portal, please know that the call-in number you see on the Wednesday night episodes, the call-in number does not work for us. It does work, but you're going to get a different show. Right. So, yeah, it's the network call-in number. And, of course, on Friday and Saturday nights, we are attached to TFR Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, TalkStream, and, of course, here we simulcast on YouTube at the same time. But Friday, Saturday nights, that'll work.
Right.
But on Wednesday nights, we just do this as, our chance to reach out and do it again, because the Friday, Saturday to Friday, Saturday was just too long a stretch, and quite frankly, we love doing this. So we had to add a night, and so we've done this YouTube-only Wednesday night broadcast just to reach out and be a part of your world one more time throughout the week.
And just remind you to stay connected, because we are awesome. And so are all of you.
How's that work?
It just does.
Just pat yourself on the back. We are awesome. It's honestly you guys that have made us awesome. I mean, really. We wouldn't be where we are without all of your participation and encouragement and support, and your word of mouth endorsements have meant the world to us and to what we're doing. So you guys have, if you didn't show up, we probably wouldn't have an excuse to keep adding nights and more shows.
Definitely
so
that.
You guys make this happen. So thank you.
You complete us.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
Brent said that's a lame heart. I don't know. I don't know how do you make a good heart? I don't.
Oh, that's a really flat heart on the bottom there. You got to extend your thumbs down more.
Thumbs down, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm getting old. My fingers don't flex like that anymore.
You got a handful of pickles.
You got sausage for fingers.
That's a mitt full of brats. What are you talking about?
Nice.
Oh my God, that's not a heart. Lady Death said that's not a heart too.
What do you want me? I don't know.
Look at that. Doesn't that look like a heart?
Oh, that's just fat and sexy.
Well, that's me. You just described me. I'm just saying. I'm glad you think so. All right. So, as Don chokes on his gruel, swill. So anyway, as fun as those interview shows have been, Don,
we have to make room for the original Portal.
We do. Yeah. Honest to God, when the Portal started, it was just me and a microphone, right? And so I just came to love the story time, and it just felt to me like I was really connecting with the audience, and having the guests on. We've been really blessed to have some amazing guests on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even more so recently. And of course, returning guests like Deb Varner, our resident psychic. Yep. She's, a regular appearance here. We've made new connections like Robin, and Linda, Godfrey, and the Bear. And he's been, all of them have been amazing. And Duncan. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the people that have been a part of the Portal. But I always, when we do a lot of the interview shows, I miss sitting back and just kind of quietly, not a lot of fanfare, but just reading stories and sharing these stories with you guys. So when we do shows like this, to me, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like hanging out with friends, after you've been at a huge party, because like those interview shows for me are big affairs. They're, and of course my stress level is higher than too, because it's so important that everything works. And when it doesn't work, it absolutely sends my pulse through the roof. I'm just like, oh God, I'm about to stroke out.
Yep, he really does.
Yeah, I mean, Don can tell you. I mean, when the microphones are off, you wouldn't believe the words I know. I know all kinds of sailor and trucker. So, so it's really nice to come back to, no, not at all, Sean. That's not, that's not what I'm saying. And Sean and Joel as well were fantastic guests.
Absolutely.
And that was a great episode too. But I'm saying, for putting on the show, it's not a lot of stress for me to turn on the computer, set up my workspace, pull up the broadcast software, and just connect and go. That's real easy. But when I've got guests on, it's like, get the connections made. If there's any problems before then, is it a solid connection? Does the sound quality work? Do the levels right? And
he calls people 2 days before on Skype just to make sure that that's working.
Yeah, well, and I think that's good. But part of the thing is being a 1 and 2 man operation. It's a lot of things, a lot of hats that we have to wear. But when the Portal gets big enough, I will look forward to farming a lot of this out to somebody else, because it's just it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So, but that's why I really enjoy these nights like tonight.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Matt says you guys do a fantastic job, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a bunch,
Matt. That's why we like you so much. you as in our community, our friends, our paranormal family.
Yeah, exactly. It's a family. It's not just a bunch of listeners and a couple of hosts.
Right.
I really consider all of you guys a part of the Portal. Like, it's a collective. It's not just a show. So, thank you guys for that. And I guess that was a long roundabout way of saying tonight we're doing stories.
We're going back to the classic format.
We're going back to Retro Portal.
Retro Portal.
And it's something that we will continue to do as a big part of what we're doing. But I was just telling Don tonight before the show, it's like, I kind of miss when we just kind of kick back and laugh and tell stories, Yeah. I mean, it's just such a campfire vibe, I guess, for me. It's
exactly.
Kicking back in a campfire, crackling in the distance as
with your favorite adult beverage.
With your favorite adult beverage and
or non-adult beverage.
We're still not sure what's in the mystery jug over there, but I'm not going to sample it, so it's all you. But that may be an adult beverage. I'm not sure. We'll see how Don handles the rest of the show.
Oh, well, I usually make it pretty good until the
If
end of
he
the show.
starts doing this, then I'm pretty sure there's all kinds of party in that bottle. So
it's a portable party.
It's a portal party.
It's a portal party.
Portable party.
Say that 10 times fast.
I can't even hardly say it once. So.
Pip, 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 pip.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to do another night of fun-filled stories about spirits and stuff. And in the description, the question occurs to me when I hear about these stories. It's like, are they... We all know that houses have history, places have history, things have happened, and certainly that can be cause for some kind of lingering presence. Whether it's unfinished business, a traumatic ending, the feeling that they didn't deserve to die, and so they're angry. Right. What causes these spirits to linger, and or are all of these places recorded all this information, and then these wayward spirits just kind of show up and they download it and they become part of the story because they want to. Is there, what I mean? Yeah. Is there is how many varieties of spiritual entities are there? Right. There's the people, there's the not people, there's the beasts, the weird creatures that don't seem to fall into any category, almost extraterrestrial, multi-dimensional. There's all these etheric beings that show up, and it's just such a hodgepodge. But I think, and I've said it many times on the show, I think we are absolutely swimming in a world full of spirits. And on a couple of shows back, you and I were talking, Don, and we were talking about the fact that our reality is based on what we perceive. Right. But even in the scope of our reality, like when you consider the light spectrum, here's this holistic light spectrum from the brightest possible light to the dimmest light, the brightest possible red and then the lowest possible violet, then in between there, we have this little window of things that we can see. And so there's all these things that exist in that spectrum on either side, and probably in the middle of what we can perceive, because we can only perceive a certain amount of the spectrum that is visible. Mm-hmm. And then the same goes for sound. Right. There's so many sounds that lie well beyond or above or below our hearing range, but they still exist. Right. And so are these beings, these entities, are they just another part of life, another branch of life that just exists beyond what we can perceive? They're not necessarily in another dimension. They're not necessarily, in a spirit world or other reality. They're just in our reality, but we just don't have the faculties to perceive them. So when things happen and things move, and are those them interacting in our lives, and are they aware of us all the time? Are we in a spectrum that they can't see?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like this big playing field. We're only able to handle, and participate in this lane. Do they exist over here in this lane? It's still not another dimension or anything. It's just another aspect of this same reality, this same dimensional existence, but it's just outside of either's perception. Right. And then I do believe there are, of course, other dimensions, and they may be able to interact on some degree with ours, and, or whatever. But I just, those kind of questions really amaze me and really make me wonder, what is the story? So these are just thoughts that I have. And then you get into what causes them to suddenly become active. And of course, I think anybody that does any kind of research into the paranormal knows that one of the big things is construction. If you ever work on a building or a house or whatever, yep, and there is a spirit energy that resides there, that's probably going to kick them up. That's probably going to rev them right up and make themselves known.
Dig up some past.
Right. When you start pulling back wallpaper and you're hitting other layers, right, yeah, where this, that seems to trigger, these things. or when you tear out a wall and an old shoe falls out, it's like a trigger.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just the fact that they love that house, they live there. Maybe they were born there, died there, and then these people are moving in and changing it, and that pisses them off. Because they're still attached to the structure and they like it the way it was.
Or maybe not so much, pissed off, but, hey, new excitement,
Could be.
Somebody I can talk to,
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And so construction's the big one. But the other thing is that emotional charges can also activate psychic and spiritual energy. I used to own a few properties way back in the day, and I would rent them out. And of course, the people you rent to, you want as a landlord, you want someone that's going to take care of your property, and you want someone that's going to pay the rent. But after that, you really can't be too involved in their life unless they're, doing something that's not okay or legal. Right. So if you get people moving in that, they just have these raging arguments. So that's a new energy charge that's not familiar with this property. Is that going to activate? Because they just don't like these people that moved in. Or the fact that they're exuding so much energy into an atmosphere. Is that going to activate this what would otherwise be a dormant energy? So those are other activations, and of course weather, times of year, atmospheric changes could activate it. Right. Et cetera, ad nauseum. And these are all theories or ideas. Unfortunately, they're not provable, but it certainly seems to be a theme. What is Sean saying?
Sean said another thing that seems to activate ghosts is latent energy in gifted folk that seems to shine a light on the entities, and they activate too.
And I was going to get to that, Sean, because that was, of course, something that you had mentioned when you were on the show, and I thought that was really interesting. I know that for a long time I've known that gifted folk are a beacon of sorts, right, and the energies are drawn to them. And I always just assumed it was because these spiritual beings can tell, here's someone that can hear my story, or here's somebody I can interact with, right. But perhaps just that energy is what triggers them to, all of a sudden be aware,
Right.
So that's a really good point, and thank you for sharing that. That's outstanding.
MCAT says, my theory is that because of all of our senses are processing through the brain, is there a filter that's undeveloped mind wouldn't have?
That's a good point, yeah. And can we train ourselves to become more aware of these things that are filtered out? That's a great thing. That's a great question, MCAT, and a great point of view. You're absolutely possibly right.
There are no absolutes.
Right. But hey, pancaking 23 just came in.
Yep.
And who's all in here, Don? You wanna?
Well, we got Renee. Taz just showed up. Hi, Taz. Pancaking. Matt Niven. We've got Sean. MCAT, I've already said. If I didn't, oh well. Lewis is here. Lady Death is here.
Lady.
Dory's here.
Dory.
Yeah, Pixie came in. She's here.
Nice, Pixie. Glad to see you guys.
Let's see, Dory, Ian. Oh, LJD is here.
Oh, LJD, hey.
Yep. Let's see here. There's a couple more. Let's see.
I just kind of threw you on the spot.
Well, that's okay. Oh, Haunted Places. Hey, how are you?
Haunted Places.
Oh, and our friend Dawn. Dawn's here.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Danielle's here.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, the party started.
Yeah, the paranormal party is in progress.
All right. Party. Paranormal portal party.
The portable paranormal party.
Porty?
See?
I know. That's the thing. It's a tongue twister. Well, welcome to the show, everybody, and thanks, guys, for coming in. So let's get to some of these tales and just relax, kick back, grab a beverage, light the candles, turn down the lights, and let's get into this mood. Throw on the Barry White. No, wrong mood.
Little Teddy P.
Oh, God. I like Barry White. He's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. What is Vamp? Vamp, what are you doing? The portal's open. Why are you not here?
Vamp?
Yeah, Vamp. She's in the
Vamp Lugosi?
Yeah, she's. Oh, gosh.
She's in the
okay.
Let
There, join us now. It's open. She's in the central time zone. So she's always like 2 hours late.
Oh, yeah, we do everything on Pacific time here in the portal. Because that's where we live, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the north tip of Idaho, coming to you live.
Yes.
And unrehearsed.
Definitely that. We got no time to rehearse.
Which shows every episode. I know. Well, there is no time for rehearsals.
No.
But, that's the thing. That's maybe what makes it fun, is that it is just as it comes. We just deliver it. We're just whipping it up on the spot.
Oh,
now, what is this? What did I see looking at me in the dark? And another one I left open, and I don't know if I read it or not. So let me start after that. Let me start with something else. Oh, I must have read all of these. 3 knocks.
Knock 3 times.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I don't need Tony Orlando and Dawn in my head. You do not get to do that. This is weird. Why are they all grayed out? Okay. Here's one. I don't know if I read those other ones or not. It's been a while, so I just kind of forgot. Peeping Tom is the first one, ladies and gentlemen. This first story will be Peeping Tom. There's a story here in Maryland about a supposed supernatural being called Peeping Tom, or the Blank Man. He is said to haunt the train tunnel in Ellicott City, called Ilchester Tunnel. What I was hurt on the playground growing up was that what I heard on the playground growing up, I think is what they meant, was that if you went to Ilchester Tunnel and stood on the far side of the train bridge at exactly midnight and stared down to the light of the end of the tunnel without blinking for 1 solid hour, who the hell can not blink for an hour?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Blank Man would rise up out of the ground and show himself. According to the legend, though, once you see him, he is permanently in your vision, and every time you blink, he gets closer and closer to you until he literally scares you to death.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, well, you've got to not blink for an hour. I'm betting not a lot of people have that problem. It's the kind of thing that you do, that a lot of kids in the area try as a dare, so naturally, I ended up going there a few years ago, laugh out loud. A bunch of us had played Hey Mister and got a bottle of vodka, and there was this really hot girl I was trying to impress, so we all did the Blink Man dare. We started at midnight, and most people couldn't go a solid minute, let alone a solid hour, without blinking. Well, nobody can. Nobody can not blink for an hour.
No.
Your eyeballs would dry up.
Well, unless you're like a test subject in Clockwork Orange or something.
Well, yeah, that's just creepy and weird, but yeah. What the hell? I held on for about 15 minutes, but failed pretty miserably, which was okay because the girl ended up being
I'm so glad I can read over your shoulder because I just shake my head when you skip things.
She ended up being a problem anyway.
Which is not even near what it says.
Not near what it says, but that's as much as of it that I'm going to read. Long story short, there was this girl who did the entire hour. It was incredible and totally unbelievable. But somehow she managed to do it. It was freaky watching somebody go that long without blinking. Then she started saying, "There he is. I see him. I see him." We thought she was just pulling our leg, but she was getting really scared, and the whole ride home, she was holding her fingers open with her eyes.
Holding her eyes open with her fingers.
Yeah, what the hell, this person? Because she said he was out on the road and that every time she blinked, we would pass him again somewhere. I have to admit that I thought it was BS at first, but an hour of that kind of talk starts to get under your skin. Yes. She didn't come to school on Monday. She died in a car accident the next day when she swerved her car off the road. True story.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's probably not a true story.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. Because here, first of all, you brought up the first point. How can you hold your eyes open for an hour without blinking?
Oh, that's wrong.
And secondly, who did it in the first time to figure it out?
Yeah.
Who's
the person that sorted this one out?
I got a really cool idea. Let's stand on this train tower at midnight and not blink for an hour.
Hey, guess what Blind Dave said? Yeah, exactly. It's like somebody with really bad vision now.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, but I started laughing originally because as soon as you said every time you blink, he comes closer, I thought of the story you read last week about every time I blink, he came a step closer. I'm like, stop blinking. Turn the lights on. Wake up.
The guy in the bed. Yeah. Or the woman in bed. Oh, it was a guy, wasn't it?
I think it was a guy, yeah.
And the woman was sleeping.
And he was awake. He woke his
Wow.
And
he screamed and cried. Yeah. Yeah, and that would be terrifying. That would be absolutely terrifying. Every time you blink, it moves a few feet closer. That's just, that's creepy.
Vamp finally got here.
Well, welcome, Vamp. Glad to see you made it.
I did give her directions. Love you, Vamp. Thank you.
Go to the store and turn right.
Vamp can take directions. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. Go down I-38 to where you see the YouTube sign and then hang a right. Take a left on Paranormal Alley.
Take a left into Paranormal Alley.
The third house on the left. The 13th house on the left. Yeah.
13.
That was a weird story. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know.
All right.
This one's called Hannah. Hannah.
Oh.
Okay, and it's literally one sentence. It says, first post and first actual paranormal experience that I can remember. Period. The end. Well done, Hannah.
Bravo. Well done.
Yeah.
Slow clap.
Yeah, golf clap. Yeah. All right. Apartment 208 and Old Mom.
Ooh.
In 2013, I moved into an apartment in Alma, Arkansas, and I'm not sure if this had anything to do with it, but the apartment complex was right next to an old graveyard. A little history on this apartment complex. I had lived there 3 times before, in 2003, 2006, and 2009. All 3 times I got the same 1-bedroom apartment, number 208. It was always the only 1-bedroom available. Wonder why. Each time I would have strange things happen there. The first time, cabinets would open, things would be in different places, and sometimes when I'd take a shower and close my eyes, I'd see the bathroom and shower covered in blood, and blood coming out of the shower. I'd open my eyes, and it'd be normal. The first time I lived there, that stuff intrigued me. I only moved out to move in with my girlfriend. Alma has very few options for apartments, and in 2006, when my girlfriend and I split up, I had to go back to the same apartment complex, and lo and behold, the exact same day I split with my girlfriend, the people living in 208 moved suddenly. And for the second time, I got the same apartment as the first time. It seemed a little weird, but I just wrote it off as a coincidence. This time, things got worse. I'd hear movement in my walk-in closet and living room at night. The shower visions were more intense, and also this was the year that the laughing children incident happened to me. I guess he did a post about laughing children somewhere. And also I was living here when sleep paralysis began a few months after the laughing children. My first sleep paralysis episode was terrifying. I was laying asleep next to my girlfriend, and about 1 a.m. I hear the DVD rack in the living room fall and a lot of DVDs crashing to the floor. I was still half asleep when I looked towards my bedroom door, which I kept shut, and on this night I had accidentally left my bathroom and I could see the light under my door. But as I turned my head to the direction of the noise and was about to holler out, "Who's there?" I heard running footsteps like a kid. Then I saw the shadow of feet at the base of my bedroom door in the bathroom light. And then I saw the feet shadow go from being on the other side of my door to being on my side of the door. No filler shadow, just the feet. And in a blink of an eye, they moved from door to my chest and disappeared. This all happened so fast I hadn't been able to move or speak. But after seeing the shadow feet on my chest, I went to shake my girlfriend awake, but I couldn't move my arms. Uh-oh. So I went to say her name, but I couldn't speak. So in a panic, I tried to sit up, but couldn't move at all. My eyes began to get heavy, and in a second, I was dreaming of a shadow holding me down, covering my mouth. I fought and widened my eyes, and still it was there. I am finally able to make a noise, but it's just a raspy, pitiful help that is barely a whisper, and I am able to slightly move my finger and touch my girlfriend. It's enough, and she opens her eyes and asks me what's wrong. I let out a pitiful help again as I widen my eyes in fear at my chest. My girlfriend shakes me, and when I didn't respond, she slaps me. In an instant, the shadow is gone, and I'm awake, able to move. My girlfriend says she never heard the DVDs crashing and didn't see the shadow. The DVDs were all still on the rack when I go out to check the living room. My girlfriend witnessed and pulled me out of 3 more sleep paralysis episodes over the next few months.
Wow.
Before leaving me because it all freaked her out so bad.
Huh.
And then I moved out. Fast forward to 2009, I had married, and in 2007, I had married in 2007 rather, and had a son that same year and a daughter in 2009. But my wife and I split, and I needed a place to stay. And once again, I go back to the same apartment complex. I couldn't afford anything better. Once again, for the 3rd time, the only apartment is 208. But I don't want to be homeless, so I asked the landlord if I move into 208, can it be temporary, and if another apartment opens up, he can let me take it. He says yes, and I move in, but after 2 weeks of bloody visions, noises, and 2 more sleep paralysis episodes, I move out and stay with family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no kidding.
Amen.
My wife and I get back together, but in 2013 we split up for good and get split custody and needed a local place to live. And because this time I need a 2-bedroom apartment, and knowing there is no chance of getting 208 because it's a 1-bedroom, I go back to the complex and end up getting 210, which is right next to 208.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The even-numbered apartments are on the 2nd floor and the odd on the bottom. 210 is the only available 2-bedroom apartment, so I take it and tell myself at least it's not 208. No, nothing happens here at first, and my kids and I really make it our home, and then it begins. One night I am in my room, and it's 2:30 in the morning, and I hear my kids banging toys around and giggling in their room, and I hear their TV come on, and it wakes me up. Irritated, I call out, "You guys are supposed to be asleep. Don't make me ground you." It says font, make me ground you. The banging and giggling stop, but I hear a TV going, and I get up and walk by their shut door, still half asleep, and say, "Okay, kiddos, I told you to go back to..." As I begin opening their door, it occurs to me that my kids are at their mom's.
Oh.
I had taken them back to her the evening before.
Wow.
A chill runs down my body as I slowly push the door open to see toys strewn all over and a cartoon playing on TV. I turn the light on, unplug the TV, then bolt to the living room, shutting their door behind me. I turn all the lights on in the apartment and sit up on edge all night. Nothing else like this happens for the next week while my kids were there. I'd catch my 3-year-old daughter talking to somebody when my 6-year-old son wasn't around her, so I asked her who she talked to, and she replied, "My friend, old mom. Her kids got burned up. She is so nice to me because I look like her little girl."
Oh.
My daughter said this word for word, and usually she couldn't talk that plain. I immediately call her mom and ask her what she's been watching over there, but her mom says just her cartoons. I once again got a chill down my entire body. My son never saw what Alexis saw.
Wow.
Over the next few months, my little girl continues to talk to and about old mom. Sometimes even pointing behind me, telling me old mom is there watching me to make sure I'm a good daddy.
Ooh.
Very creepy.
Yeah.
Over the past few years, my little girl has gotten to like spooky stuff and is fascinated with scary shows and movies. But at this time, she is only 3 and had never seen scary stuff, so I was really getting concerned and had a hard time sleeping. Then one night, I was reading a kid's book called The Monster in My Closet to my kids. They lay in bed, and I was sitting on a chair next to their bed, when the end of the book is a page that says for the kid reading it to draw the monster in their closet, and this gave me an idea. I told my daughter to draw old mom for me. She sits up, and I give her a pencil and the book, and she says, "Can you move, Daddy? She's behind you, and I can't see her."
Oh, my.
I scoot away a little, and my little girl looks in the direction where I sat before she looks down and draws a little, looks up again, and then draws some more, and then continues to do this until she finishes. She hands me the picture, and I look at it, and I begin to tremble, and my heart races. That weekend, we moved to an apartment in the next town over. Some might say it was her imagination and she just made up the drawing, but she was 3, and I believe if she made it up, she wouldn't have taken her eyes off the paper as she drew.
Right.
But she kept looking up as she drew, and that tells me she was looking at old mom while drawing her. You will know why after I moved after seeing this drawing. Well, let's see if that link works. Yeah, let's see.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh.
Oh, dear God.
Draw a picture of what the monster in your closet looks like. Nice.
That's apparently old mom.
You
okay.
need to switch to
I know. I was just getting over it visually myself. There, ladies and gentlemen,
that's a picture of old mom. Yeah.
That's old mom.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in
that looks like old mom's hanging by the neck.
Yeah, something's wrong with old mom's neck.
And she's a hunchback.
Yeah.
Or a stegosaurus.
Jesus, Don, you have to be an art critic. The kid's 3.
Stegosaurus old mom hanging by the neck.
Oh, man. My old mom looks like a velociraptor. Yeah, that's creepy, though. I mean, if my kid drew a picture of that as the person they're seeing, yeah, that's a little problematic.
Stegosaurus walking through the forest.
Oh, my God, Don. Yeah. Well, that's old mom. Anyway. I'm glad the image works.
Wow. Yeah, that's
really cool to see.
Cool, yeah.
Very cool to see, ladies and gentlemen. And you saw it here on the portal.
On the portal.
On the portal. So yeah, I think I can understand why you'd want to move.
Yeah, quickly.
What does people say? Oh, somebody is asking which apartments. I currently live in Fort Smith, but I have friends living in some apartments in Alma.
Them directly across next to the graveyard.
For privacy reasons, I won't give the name. Oh, wow. There you have it.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't it be funny if there was friends that lived there? Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Say hi to old mom.
Is there a gallows there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, they said her kids burned up, so whatever happened.
Wow.
Looks like old mom might have been exposed to a few flames, too. And unfortunately, I don't mean to mock the dead, but that does look like a painful picture.
Yes. It paints a painful picture. Where it gets the hose again.
Jesus. All right.
Oh, welcome to my mind.
That's a scary place in there, Don.
And the laughing children. There it is.
The lantern, the boatmen, and the laughing children. Laughing children seems to be a theme tonight, doesn't it?
I wonder if that's... No, this is the same one. This is the laughing children that he was referencing.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost certain.
Huh.
That's sexy.
Thank you. But I muted myself before I did it. Before I sniffled. Sorry. Anyway, is this? Yeah, it is the same author. Yep. So this is a story that predates it. This guy definitely has no problem writing really long stories. No. Look at this, Don.
Oh, goodness.
This is like a 30-minute story all by itself.
Thank God we're not on the network, or we'll say when we get packed from the
yeah, this would take up a whole half-hour segment for sure.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, at least it says I just finished editing this post. I attempted to fix all the typos and grammar inconsistencies as well as adding some details to the original post. I had been so shook up when I first typed these memories out 4 days ago that when I finished, I had no desire to proofread it. Yeah, I don't blame you. All right, let's see what he says. I'm a 32-year-old man, yet it is broad daylight as I write this post because what I'm about to share haunts me to this day, to the point that merely thinking about, or in this case typing this memory, is enough to send chills down my body and make me feel like a terrified child. I have only told this story to a handful of people over the past 10 years because of how terrifying an experience it was for me. But I feel like it can be therapeutic to get it off my chest and share with others. Maybe others have had similar experience. If so, please let me know. To tell this story and give it justice, I have to tell you of an experience that happened 3 years before the terrifying encounter this post is about. Buckle up. This will be a long post, but definitely not boring. My name is Joshua, but I will change the names to protect the privacy of others involved in this story. I live in Arkansas, and in late 2003, near the middle of fall, right before it started getting really cold, my wife and I were invited to camp with a friend of mine and his girlfriend at Sugarloaf Lake in Oklahoma. I say camp, but the actual plan was to meet at Sugarloaf, and my friend, we'll call him Bob, wanted to take me and my wife around to some paranormal places in the Sugarloaf area. So we got there around 7 p.m. I was driving a white Ford 1996 F-150. Bob was driving a 1980-something white Celebrity and was really a piece of crap vehicle. Anyway, it was late dusk, becoming dark, when we all climbed into Bob's car, and he took us around the area first to an old abandoned house. But other than some raccoons rustling around, it was a 2-hour waste of time. Then he took us to a graveyard that was supposed to be haunted. Again, a bust. Then an old church that was run down and supposed to be haunted once again. Yawn. Don, I haven't told you that I've been hearing footsteps up here, have I?
Oh.
Yeah, last few nights.
Nice. It's old mom.
Yeah, well, apparently.
Do they say?
No, I mean, I hear like footsteps, like clunk, clunk, and the squeak of the floor and stuff. And it's not the cat, and it's not my wife.
Cat.
And it's certainly not my child, because he's long asleep, so...
There you go.
At this point, it was getting close to midnight. My wife and I were getting pretty bored, and I spoke to Bob saying, man, this really hasn't been all that freaky of a night. But that's when Bob smiled, saying he was saving the best for last. He handed me a Polaroid picture of a hillside covered in trees in daylight. I asked him what this was, and he asked me if I saw a house or any type of light pole or anything in the picture, to which I replied, no. He took the picture back and said that's because there isn't, and there are no power lines there either. About this time, he turned down an old dirt road and passed a small farmhouse, and then, after that, it was 2 miles of dirt road, with woods on one side and a barbed wire fence on the other, with about 2 acres of field connected to a wooden hillside. Nothing to light the night except for the full moon above our head, and the clear, starry sky. After what seemed like forever, he stopped the car and told us all to get out.
Get out.
We did as he asked. He walked us to the other side of the car where the fence, field, and wooded hillside was. Hold on, I got to tell this not to restart. Oh, okay. Okay. I just had to look at that email. He looked at his cell phone, which his phone and mine had no signal, but this was 2003 and this area had no cell towers. But he looked at his phone and said it was 11:57 and told us all to watch the middle of the hillside. Even at complete dark, I could tell this was the same field and hillside from the picture. 2 minutes go by and nothing has changed except at exactly midnight, a small light flickers on in the middle of the hillside. A chill runs down my back, and as my wife, Bob, and his girlfriend, and myself watch this small light, which to me looked like an old kerosene lantern, begin to move, swaying back and forth. We sat and watched in complete silence for what seemed like several minutes, when I finally spoke up and asked what the story with this was. Bob replied he did not know, but locals had told him that at midnight, every night, this lantern will light up and sway back and forth through the woods until the sun comes up, and then it disappears. Nobody knew what the story was. At the time, I was a 19-year-old guy who didn't think anything could scare me or hurt me since there was no houses around. I yelled out, "We see you! Wow, you are so scary with your little lantern." Oh, what a dork. You don't taunt things like that. Oh, my God. Bob shushed me, but it was too late. My wife screamed and pointed. I was laughing, but my laughing stopped as I looked to the hillside to see the lantern swaying back and forth, but moving down the hillside to the field at an inhuman pace. Gliding, it began to speed across the field towards our car. We didn't stick around to see what it was because within seconds, we were in the car and flying down the dirt road back to the lake. We looked back to see the lantern moving slowly back up the hillside to where it first appeared. The ride back was silent until Bob spoke up saying, "Crap, I forgot to put gas in earlier." And the only store around is closed. There you have it. And if we decide to go back out anywhere, it'd be best to take my truck until he could get gas in the morning, as he only had about half a quarter of a tank. That's an eighth of a tank.
Wow. Thank God for basic math.
Yeah, I know. I said okay, and a few minutes later, we arrived back at Sugarloaf Lake. We had parked by the lake docks, and we dropped my tailgate and sat and talked about what had just happened. Bob's girlfriend was pregnant at the time and told him she was hungry. He told her we had brought some snacks, but she said that she needed actual food. But since the local store was closed, he asked if we could take my truck to the next town over and get some food because his car wouldn't have enough gas to get us to town. I obliged. We shut our cooler, put the tailgate up, and loaded up into my truck, and I turned the key. Nothing happened. My truck was dead. Deader than dead. No ding, no lights, no clicking noise, nothing. For all intents and purposes, you would think the alternator was out. This was strange, and after the night we had, it made us feel uneasy. We got out of the truck and popped the hood, pulled Bob's car around to the front, and attempted to jump my truck with his car. This is where it gets even weirder. As soon as we connect the jumper cables to his battery and mine, his girlfriend starts his car, and within seconds, the cables in between the connectors start to smoke. Ooh. And in a flash of fire, they burn up within seconds. Wow. The cables were nothing more than bits of melted rubber and ash, with only the end clamps still on our batteries. Bob runs and turns off his car, and we take the clamps off our batteries. We look at each other in the eerie moon and starlit night. Did I mention there were no light poles around? And we both get a bad feeling at the exact same time. We suddenly realize we had been hearing a distant noise in the lake, and it was getting louder. It was a boat motor. Now, like I said, this was the time of year it was starting to get cold, especially at night. We were bundled up as it was, and we were standing still on land at night, but somebody was out on a boat after midnight when it had to be chilly as all get out with the wind hitting them. And from the sound of this motor, it was going pretty fast, but we saw nothing. That is until the boat was about 50 yards away, and a very bright spotlight comes on, temporarily blinding us all. Bob and I tell the women to get in the car and lock the doors. I reach into the bed of my truck and give Bob a tire tool, and I pick up another. I work at a tire shop and have all kinds of tools of the trade in my truck. Of course. We were standing in front of the vehicles in the middle of the hoods up on both sides as the boat pulls up to the dock, and two heavily bearded men in their 30s and 40s step out of the boat and walk up. It's hard to give an accurate description as their spotlight was still pointed at us, and it covered the men in an eerie shadow, whilst Bob and they look at us and our vehicles, and one glances in the direction of the car, at the women, and then back at us, and lets out a small chuckle. "You fellers got some sort of car trouble?" One asks as he lights up a cigarette. "Yeah, but it's nothing we can't handle," I stammer. The guy with the cigarette sniffs the air and looks down between Bob and I feet and sees the still smoking ashes of what wasn't the jumper cables. Looks like it was more than looks like it's more than your silly jumper cables could handle. You all need some help? We got some tools on the boat that I think could fix you guys' problem right up. Then the other man who had chuckled in the beginning says, fix them right up. I am speechless at this moment, probably with my mouth hanging open. I can't remember as the two men walk back to their boat, and we hear what sounds like chains rattling around as we try to make out what they are doing, but the spotlight is so blinding we can barely see, but the chain noise was enough. Bob looked at me, and without saying a word, we both jumped into his car and drove the hell out of there. For the next few hours, we drove to a populated area of houses, which wasn't many in the rural area. We were pretty much stuck since we had very little fuel, but we all sat in the car, mostly quiet, looking around in all directions in near panic, thinking at any time those men would find us. Bob would turn his lights on every now and then, thinking he had seen some movement in the dark. After a while, the women fell asleep, and Bob and I talked about how absolutely weird this whole ordeal had been. And he laughed, saying, "I told you it would be a scary night. I just didn't know it would be this sort of scary." At this point, the paranormal lantern wasn't even the main thing freaking me out. But the men never showed up, and eventually the morning was on its way, and it was about 20 minutes until the sunrise. And Bob asked if I wanted to go see if the lantern really disappears at sunrise. I asked if he was sure he had enough gas, and he said, yeah. The local store opens up in about an hour, so we'll be fine. I tell him in that case, yeah. And we wake the women up and drive back to the hillside, We get there with about 4 minutes left until sunrise. We still see the lantern swaying in the woods.
Yell at him again, dummy.
Bob looks at me and I smile and do the motion for zipping my lips, and we all watch and wonder as right at sunrise, the lantern slowly fades away to nothing. After this, we get back in the car and drive back to the lake, feeling safer now. And when we get there, there's no sign of the boat, and the hood of my truck is still up, and the doors are still locked. On a whim, I tell Bob I'm going to try to start the truck one more time before he drives us somewhere else where I can get a cell signal and call for help. And I'll be damned. The truck started right up with no hesitation or problem. We all went our separate ways, happy to have seen the sunrise, and counting our blessings and swearing to leave the paranormal investigating in this area to others, and swearing that we will never want to come back to this area, and run into the boat people again. The boat people. However, all things fade with time, even fear and common sense. 3 years later, Bob, who I haven't seen in almost 2 years, at that point calls me up and says he has a proposition for me. He goes on to tell me that he has a group of himself and 3 other Wiccans who go out and do seance in haunted places, and asked me if I'd be willing to film their sessions in the haunted places for their records, and that they would even pay me well for my services. I'm no Wiccan, but I've always loved the paranormal, even after what I went through at Sugarloaf. I still had an itch to scratch when it came to getting scared and dealing with the paranormal and the unknown, and I told him, yeah, I'd love to film them, but I had no interest in joining in that. I was okay with watching and just getting to be out there looking into the paranormal again. So, of course, my next question was, when and where are we going to be doing this at first? When he answers me, I got a terrible gut feeling, and I wish so much that I had trusted my gut and told him I changed my mind. Remember that lantern out near Sugarloaf? He asked me, as if there was any way I could forget. Yeah, I stammered. Why do you ask? I told my group the story, and they want to do the ritual there and see if we can contact the spirit and find out why it's there and what it wants. Bob replied. I don't know, man. I said, come on, Josh. Trust me. You'll be safe, and I'm going to pay you $250 to just sit there and film it.
Wow.
He retorted. At that time, I was about to become a father, and money was tight because diapers, formula, and the cost is a small fortune, not to mention it was my very first kid, and my new wife's first kid, so she had been going crazy spending money on not just the necessities, but also buying only top-of-the-line baby products like toys, crib, playpen, baby monitor, stroller, car seat, a combination pack, and a play/changing table, diaper, genie, and designer baby clothes. So because my wife was putting us in the poorhouse, I had to weigh out my fear of the area he wanted to go back to with how important it was to make the extra money. So against my better judgment, I accepted the offer. And a week later, I was in the same beatdown Celebrity Bob was driving. Oh, your microphone must have died.
Did it?
Yep.
Yeah, it did. Okay.
Go ahead. Driving 3 years before, this time with Bob and 2 guys and 1 girl that were complete strangers to me. They each were dressed in very gothic attire and had these pentagram necklaces or something of the sort. It was 11:50 when we got there, and the 4 of them sat in a tight circle, and I was... There, yep, you're live.
Hi.
I was getting knots in my stomach knowing that what was coming to this part of the story. This part of the story haunts my dreams and even waking hours to this day. I'm going to do my best to describe how the following events unfolded, though I know mere words cannot do it justice to the pure terror that ensued or how horribly the horrific events sounded and were. So, let's get to that part. So when reading or listening to this, turn your imagination all the way up, and believe me when I say, up to this point in my life, I was interested in the paranormal. It was a fun hobby to go out ghost hunting and getting myself spooked or whatever, but after this night, I never look into the paranormal as fun or interesting anymore. I show it respect and stay as far away as possible. As much as I dread it, I will now finish telling this story.
Okay.
That was quite the setup. Excuse me. As his group is chanting, Bob lights up this huge candle in the middle of them and opened up some sort of book, and it's not a scary antique spell book or anything. It looks like a newer hardcover. Anyways, he starts reciting words from it, and then he looks at his phone and tells his group to be quiet and look up the hill. I turn the camera, and at midnight, on the dot, the lantern appears. One member of Bob's group blurts out, "Cool!" I roll my eyes, since that's the way these things, these people, I roll my eyes since the way these people were dressed and the way they carried themselves and the word cool didn't seem to fit in their vocabulary. Then Bob says to his group to join hands, and they attempt to communicate with the spirit. I turn my back to the light and begin to film the group as they begin again chanting, and Bob reads from his book. Oh, just a sec. They start asking questions in hopes the spirit will respond. About this time, a wind picks up and Bob's candle goes out. He tells everyone to hold on and tells me cut the camera for a minute, and I oblige and stop recording and watch Bob as he tries his lighter and then 2 lighters from his group, but none of the lighters are working. I'm sitting down watching the group, and then I start hearing a rustling behind me. I jump up, leaving the camera on the ground, and spin around. Bob and his group are preoccupied with their candle and lighter problem, and as I spin around, I am blinded by the brightest light I have ever seen. What I believe was the lantern, up close and personal, but as quick as it appeared, the light is gone, and the lantern is nowhere to be seen. If it had been the lantern that blinded me, it had moved from the hillside across the field and right behind me, with me not realizing it within the span of maybe 30 seconds. I look around for the lantern on the hillside and nothing. It's only 12:15 or so, and the light has always stayed on until sunrise. At this moment, the wind quits blowing, and I hear Bob's lighter finally flick, and I see it light up. And I mutter, guys, did you see that? They all turn and ask what I'm talking about. But before I can answer them, we are all stopped dead in our tracks by a distant laughter coming from seemingly nowhere and everywhere around us. But distance at the moment like far off. And this is no ordinary laughter. This is laughter, sounds like the laughter of hundreds, maybe even thousands of children that haunts me to this very moment. As I type this, I'm looking around the room I am in. Whenever I think or talk about this experience, I can vividly remember that terrifying sound and hear it in my head. Also, it just occurred to me, if you put the letter S at the beginning of laughter, it spells slaughter. Ugh. He says, ugh, why did I just think that? The best way I can describe this laughter is for you to imagine listening to a group of kids singing row, row, row your boat. And you know how one kid will start and seconds later another will start at the beginning of the song and so on? Well, this sounded like I said hundreds of thousands or thousands of children laughing, as if one would start laughing and seconds later another would, and the pattern went on in an endless loop. I'm not saying the laughter sounded like the song Row, Row Your Boat. I'm saying they laughed in unison, just like kids do when singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat. One would start, then seconds later another would start, then another and another and another, and the laughter was getting louder and louder and closer. Oh, I got a cat here on my nose or something. There was sinister laughing, goofy laughing, giggling all around us coming from all directions. I was shaking, but I could not move. I was spinning around and looking off into the distance. This couldn't be real. This sort of thing does not happen. What the hell is going on? I scream at Bob and his group, and they need to get the hell out of there. And they are already all running for the car, leaving their Wiccan book and candle behind. And without hesitation, I run after them and jump in the car just as the laughter is becoming deafening. We haul tail out of there and drive about a mile up the road to pull over, as Bob is in no condition to drive as we are all freaking out. We all get out of the car, pacing around the car, asking each other if we just really heard what we heard. I tell Bob I'm sorry, but I left his camera behind, and he said he does not care and that he isn't going back for it. At this point, I got my hands on my knees, panting, trying to catch my breath, as I never have in my entire life been so terrified. That is when all of our chatter stops, and once again we hear the laughter off in the distance, very quietly at first, but slowly getting closer and closer and louder, until once again it is becoming deafening. We jump back in the car and speed away. We drive about 6 miles, and for the first 3 miles we can still hear the laughter in the distance, with our windows down a little, and we all begin to calm a little by mile 4 when the laughter can no longer be heard. But we have no intention of pulling over again, and Bob's friend is in the passenger seat with his phone waiting for a signal to pop up. And about a mile 6, Bob's friend says, "Hey, I got the first bars," and he hands the phone to Bob, and he calls his friend of his who is into the occult and well-versed and educated in it. And as we were driving, he described what happened to the lady. Bob later told me his friend told him she believed it was the children of Hecate, or Hecate, Hecate, or something like that. I have no idea about what Hecate, or Hecate is, but sounded like more of a guess to me anyways, as Bob is on the phone speeding out of the area. Me and 2 other people in the back seat all get a chill at the same time, and they then told me later that just like me, the hair on the back of their neck stood up as a loud snapping noise comes from the front end of the car, and Bob's celebrity stops dead in its tracks, and it will no longer move forward. He tries everything, but the car is not moving. We later discovered that a tie rod had snapped. Anyways, the friend Bob is talking to on the phone only lived about 20 minutes away from where we were, and they said they were on the way. And as we sat in the car, nobody spoke, and after about 3 minutes, we saw a pair of headlights coming down the road towards us. We knew it was too soon to be Bob's friend, but me and Bob thought maybe we could get a ride from a local, and we all unloaded from the car and stood in front, waiting on the vehicle to hopefully stop.
Oh, it's the boat people.
It's the boat people.
They're now car people, but still.
Now, I cannot be certain, but my gut tells me that I am correct, but the vehicle doesn't stop. But as it comes into view, it is a beat-up old pickup truck, and it slows down, and in the truck are 2 men in their 30s to 40s
Oh, my.
with huge beards, and they stare at us and speed up after passing by. I look at Bob, and before I can speak, he says what I am already thinking: the guy's in the boat. Before I can say anything back, we see headlights coming from the direction the truck that passed us just went, and we all went still and quiet as the same guys in the same truck passed by slowly again, staring at us on the side of the road. Bob called his friend back and told her to drive like hell and get there now, and hung up. 4 or 5 minutes go by, and we see headlights coming. Relieved, we all get our stuff ready, thinking it's Bob's friend. Then his phone rings. It was the lady who was coming to get us, telling Bob she took a wrong turn and was going to be about 10 to 15 more minutes before she gets there. Bob hangs up the phone and watches in terror, as I do, as the same truck slowly passes by again. This time with only one of the boatmen in the truck. This time, though, the driver slows to a crawl and says, "Looks like you fellers could use some help," and then speeds up and drives off. This cemented the fact to Bob and I that we were definitely dealing with the boat guys, and where the hell did the other guy go? Why wasn't he in the passenger seat? And to make matters worse, at this point, something we had almost completely forgot about due to the boatman was immediately reminded to us as we began to hear the laughter again, off in the distance. But all around us, like before, and over the next few minutes, it started getting closer and closer. I am about pissing my pants now as the sound is getting deafening and we have nowhere to run. This time, and then from behind our car, off in the distance, we see 2 sets of headlights come on the two vehicles coming towards us slowly, side by side, taking up the entire width of the backcountry dirt road, both coming our way. The laughter now seems to be coming from the woods on both sides of the road we are stuck on, and the laughing seems to be zeroing in on us, as if hundreds or thousands of children are within reaching distance of us. There is no wind, no sound, other than the crunch of the tires on the rocky dirt road of the 2 vehicles slowly driving towards us. With our last shred of hope fading away into the laughter of the children and the headlights of 2 vehicles surely being driven by the boatmen, we are given a reprieve at this time. Coming from the other direction, we see another set of headlights coming fast. We hold our breath. The laughter, the boatmen, what could be next? How will we get out of this? And that is when the other vehicle that was coming fast pulls up, and it's Bob's friend. She unlocks the doors on her car and rolls her windows down and begins to tell us to get in.
No time
When
to talk,
this
just
happens, the two sets of headlights coming from the other direction turn off, and Bob's friend says, "Oh my God, you guys weren't kidding about the laughing kids," she screams at us to get in, and we do. And we begin to tell her about the boat guys, and she turns the car around, and no sooner than she starts to drive away, the two sets of headlights come on again, and this time their brights go on, and they are about a car length behind the car we're all crammed in. I yell to the driver, "Go, go, go, go," channeling my inner Jeff Goldblum, telling her faster. We must go faster.
Let's go faster.
She floors it, and for about a mile or two, the vehicles stay on our tail. Then they turn off onto a side road. For about the next 2 miles after that, we can all hear the laughter, still way off in the distance with our windows down. Then after 3 miles, the laughter was gone. To this day, I have no explanation to what happened when the laughing children were, why the laughing followed us, if the boatmen were connected to all of this somehow, or if they were merely a coincidence that happened to terrify us at the same time as the paranormal stuff was happening. And if that is the case, why did they not react to the laughing children sound? Is the lantern connected to the laughing children, or did Bob and his group mistakenly call forth the laughing children through their ritual? Like I said, this happened years ago, but I still feel just as terrified now when I tell people about it or think about it. I have had constant chills and goosebumps as I've written this. I'm sorry for the typos or grammar issues, but I am a bit shaky as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to post this story as is. I hope it is readable, and I hope somebody who reads this has had similar experience and can share their story with me. In a weird way, I believe that would help me deal with the trauma this experience still causes me to this day. To all of you who think the paranormal is just a fun hobby to get your thrills on, I beg of you, I warn you, we are not prepared for what is really out there. You can think nothing will scare you or harm you, but you are dealing with unknown things. You have no idea how powerful or mundane the paranormal could be. If you use the paranormal as a thrill-seeking hobby, just use caution and always have your vehicle checked beforehand. Oh, and watch out for seemingly sociopathic hillbillies and laughing children. Hope everyone who reads this sleeps well, but I know that after telling my story like this, that for at least the next few nights, I will be getting no sleep at all. There you have it. Wow.
Oh, there goes that screen.
Yeah, I told you that's been happening.
Well, go ahead and read that last part because it talks about something he remembered.
I'm editing my post at this moment. I just remembered the kind of an important coincidence we had driven away fast from the lantern in 2003 after it came swooping across the field towards us, and the song Unforgiven by Metallica had been playing on the radio. And then in 2006, when we first heard the laughter, when we were on the hillside and jumped in the car, the same song was on again. This time on a mixtape that one of Bob's fellow Wiccans had made and brought. Funny. Wow.
Oh, wow.
So close, no matter how far.
Paddle faster.
That's a good story, though.
It was a great story. Wow.
It was a mini series, but
yeah.
it was a good story.
We should send that to Pix so she can make it into a little video.
Oh God, that would be an epic video of sorts.
Could you see Deliverance all over that? You know.
Oh my, yeah.
You got a pretty mouth.
First they're in a boat, and then they're in cars. It's like no matter where you go, they're going to show up.
No matter where you go, there they are.
You got something to read?
Do I got something to read?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing printed on my bottle. Oh, well. Actually, yeah. I've got something here. I'm not quite sure. Lingering Spirits. And let's see here. I thought I would share with you a strange series of events I had some time ago. Here's a bit of background first. Now we go into the novel. I'm a 26-year-old female who lives in southern Montana. I consider myself the odd one in the family, seeing as I have a small ability to feel when something paranormal is nearby. Depending on how strong or close the spirit is, the more my body aches. I never told my family about this because they're Christian and Catholic, while I am a Buddhist. I worried that they would think that I was either joking or making stuff up. What I experienced happened when I was 22. I had recently moved back to Montana after my mother passed away on Christmas Day of 2011. Oh, by the way, I forgot this. Happy anniversary, Julia. Anyhow.
Oh, nice. Happy anniversary.
Christmas Day of 2011. I had to come back for her funeral and to help support my dad after her passing. He had taken it pretty hard. He hadn't slept in days and had no appetite for about a week. I turned 22 in January, and as the end of the month drew closer, my dad seemed to be getting better. Though I felt it was a bit early, he'd begun dating again. Wow. I felt that as long as he was happy, that's all that mattered. Early February, my dad mentioned that he saw a huge windstorm blow away the tarp that covered his old little boat. The next day, he and I found it and folded it neatly in the coat closet just past the doorway. At first, I thought he had a spare, but he admitted to only having one. He and I suspected my mother's spirit was behind this, but we weren't certain. Throughout the next several days, one of the kitchen drawers continuously opened without anyone near them. Another time, my then boyfriend, now fiancé, was visiting. While sitting on the couch with me, he suddenly...
Yeah, unfortunately, that'll be happening. I don't know why it happens. I checked the connections. Everything's solid.
Yeah, everything looked fine.
Yeah.
All right. While sitting on the couch with me, he suddenly jumped and spun around, claiming he had just saw my mother pass right next to the couch. To this day, he still claims it was my mother he saw. While these little things were pretty small, I had an experience of my own that terrified me. My parents always had several cats living in the house that slept in my room, so naturally their litter boxes needed cleaning. I tended to them late night after my dad had gone to bed. When I went to go towards the garage to dispose of the litter, I felt uneasy. It felt like something was on the other side of the door, but I was an adult. I hadn't felt anything strange in a few years, and I thought I'd grown out of it. But when I opened the door, what I felt made me scared. I tossed the bag in the trash right behind the door. Just as the door was halfway to being closed, I looked up for a few short seconds, and I froze at what I had just seen. There was someone or something very large standing at the front of the garage. It was tall, a little wide, had a very large black cloak with a hood over its head. Its arms were within its sleeves, which looked to be brought together where the hands would be, and it was hunched over a bit. There was nothing but darkness in the hood. When the door clicked closed, my body swelled with pain and I locked up, teeth clenching and shoulders locked back. Everything hurt and I was shaking. I hadn't felt anything like this before in my life. It took about 10 to 15 seconds for me to be able to move again. I bolted to my bedroom across the house and was unable to sleep the entire night. When I asked my friends and my fiancé about what they had seen the following day, they all gave me the same answer. I'd stumbled upon a reaper, and they told me it would be best to leave the house as it was not a good sign to see one. And that was an omen of death that would again fall upon my house. I moved out a week later and stayed with a family friend. There have been no deaths in that house since that sighting other than family pets who had grown very old. There had been no strange coincidences or occurrences since then either. I still don't know if it was the Reaper I saw, but I know I saw something. For all I know, I saw the Reaper as it had some for my mother's. For all I know, I saw the Reaper as it had come for my mother's soul that seemed to have been lingering the past few weeks. I just hope to never see it again. There you go. Lingering spirits. Came for the mother's spirit that's been lingering. Wow. That would suck. Seeing the Reaper. Lingering spirits. Let's see here. Let's see if this is a good one. No. Okay. And having trouble finding something else. So let's see here.
Sorry, I'm responding to some of the chat room stuff.
I can hear you. Oh, here. Oh,
I've gotten some listener emails in and
right
stories, but I usually like to read those on the Friday, Saturday nights because to me those are one of the big treasures of the show, and I would love for more people to hear them. Like the iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream audience as well as TFR Live. But if you guys are okay if I wait on those, I would rather do it on a night when we're Friday, Saturday night, because to me those are actually listener stories are the reason I started doing this, because my vision for the portal was initially a listener story driven show where people would send in stories, and you guys, several of you have, and I appreciate it, but unfortunately not enough yet to drive a whole show. But so I've gotten emails in and I've been saving them. I got one from Dory. MCAT sent one. Sean sent me a link to his blog, and I've got a couple others. And I've been keeping them because I want to do a listener email show on a Friday, Saturday night. So if that's okay with you guys.
So if it is okay with you guys, you better talk to other people and get them to send in their stories. I think Renee said something about having a story as well. So
right.
Yeah. So we're going to have to get those stories. Send them in. Send them in fast. Send them in quick. Send them in soon.
But yeah, I mean, I love that you guys are sending them in. That's outstanding to me. And please, any of you, we actually had a new listener as well. I'm going to put all of those in the folder that I've created for listener stories. Thank you guys for that. But if you're okay with it, I would really rather doing them on a dedicated show night for your stories. Because like I said, those are the reason I started doing it. Outstanding. So that's a couple of them. Yeah. I've got a folder with several of these in them, so we'll keep building them. And then, in the upcoming weeks, maybe on the first, actually not this coming weekend, but possibly the next weekend on Friday night, depending. Linda Godfrey just emailed me, and that's what the email I was looking at earlier. I threw out a few dates to her, but it looks like right now she's either going to be on the 13th or 14th of July for another visit. So
wow, that's so soon.
Yeah, it's so awesome that we barely touched the surface of what ground she can cover, and it's just it's just such a phenomenal show. I mean, you guys got to realize on that show with Linda Godfrey,
yep.
she gave us exclusive of some of the trail cam photos from just last week, from some investigating she's been doing on Lee Hempel's property, her co-investigator that called in and was part of the show as well. Yep. That stuff that you saw, those photos and stories you saw, have not been shown before on any other show. So I was really honored by that, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it was a great show.
And the weird image, and if you haven't seen that episode, guys, check it out in the archive. It was just last Saturday's episode, the Dogman Phenomena with Linda Godfrey. Really, really cool. And we did talk about Dogmen, but we also talked about a whole host of other paranormal activity they're experiencing in this Bray Road area.
Yeah.
She's the author of The Beast of Bray Road, and her newest book is Monsters Among Us, and that's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So definitely got to check out her work. And her blog, of course, is lindagodfrey.com. And Lee's is something Roy's Hayfield, yeah. Yeah, royshayfield.com or something like that. Yeah, and really cool, really wonderful guy as well. And he's got his piece of property on Bray Road, in the Bray Road area. Really, honest to God, sounds like a Midwest version of Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff going on there, ladies and gentlemen. So if you haven't seen that episode, check it out.
It's awesome.
It really is awesome. But again, those images that you see us showing and going over on the show were exclusive. Nobody else has seen those before. So you guys were the first.
You were the first.
Yep. We were the first. Yeah.
Ray Smith's Hayfield.
Roy, right?
Roy Smith. Roy Smith's Hayfield.wordpress.com.
RoySmithsHayfield.wordpress.com. Got it.
That's correct.
And you can put both of those links in the chat room.
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. Yep.
You always are. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah, but if you guys are okay with it, I'd rather wait. If you really want me to read your story tonight, I certainly can, and I'm okay with doing that. It's just that, like I said, those are, like, to me, those are like, the
treasures.
the prime rib
yeah.
of the portal buffet. So I'd like to save them for a whole episode of listener stories.
As long as you serve it with some...
Don't you say horseradish. Don't you dare say horseradish. That kills prime rib. It is the death of many a beautiful slice of prime rib.
No, not even near.
It is. It's horrid stuff.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff.
Oh, God.
It clears the sinuses and just gets everything going. And it just enhances.
It overpowers everything except for itself.
Then you use too much. You use too much.
I can't use little enough. In fact, I use the right amount, which is none. Just the perfect amount.
No.
My recipe calls for just none. I might pass a bottle of horseradish over the prime rib, and that's about it. That's as close as it's going to get. So.
No, sir. No, thank you. Yes, please.
It's my all-time favorite food is a medium rare big slab of prime rib.
Yes, I can attest to that.
I'm starting to sour. I know. Over the holidays, we bought a prime rib, and I made one, and I did quite well.
So I dropped those two links in there, lindagodfrey.com and Roy's...
Hayfield.wordpress.
It's Roy Smith's Hayfield.
Oh, yeah, Roy Smith's Hayfield.
.wordpress.com. So
that's right.
They are there. Visit. Oh,
yeah, I might want to straighten out the link for the swag store.
Straighten out I didn't, huh?
If you're looking for anything that says Paranormal Portal on it, make sure to check out if you'd like a T-shirt, a hoodie, a hat like Donna's wearing.
Like this one.
You can go to paranormalportalradio.com, and you'll see a whole host of apparel.
You know, everybody's been asking for beanies. I want a beanie too.
You know,
but that's a embroidery type thing, though.
Right. I'm going to try to get my hands on an embroider machine if I can, and I'd love to do some embroidery as well.
So I typed in Paranormal Portal Radio
at gmail.com.
But
Thank
we
you.
wanted Paranormal Portal Radio.
.com. Yeah, Paranormal Portal Radio at gmail.com is the place to send all your stories. Wow. Wow. How did you even do that?
I'm really good. I told you I can't type.
Oh, you poor lad. I tell you, I used to teach typing when I was a teacher.
You can't teach me nothing.
And I always told my students, I did a computer literacy class, but I always told my students, this is one skill you're never going to regret learning.
Uh-huh.
And it's true. I mean, and I taught a lot of inner city youth, and, they were tough kids, but honest to God, when they would start typing 30 plus words a minute, they would just glow. I mean, you could just see them and they took a lot of pride in it. So.
I'm from the old school where we learned to type on like Apple II.
I started typing on typewriters, on electric typewriters.
Okay, when typing became necessary.
Yeah,
for life.
I took it as an elective in school.
So that was like 5th or 6th grade for me. And guess what?
Do tell.
I can't type.
Yeah. Yes, but I can't imagine why. It's not because you're not a smart guy. You're intelligent as hell. It's just
can't type.
You just were probably like, I'm not going to do this stupid stuff.
What do you mean I got to type 30 words a minute? I don't even know. Why is it not ABC?
I can only speak 8.
What is QWERTY?
Who's QWERTY and what does he have to do with any of this?
Who set up this typewriter? This is ridiculous.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I was always taught it was ABCD, not ASDF.
I heard a story about that the reason they changed the whole, instead of doing alphabetical order, is they wanted to, since they used those arms, on those old school typewriters, they were trying to slow people down because those arms would jam up.
They could jam up, yeah.
So when they scrambled the letters, the idea was to, allegedly, was to keep people typing at a pace that wouldn't cause those arms to jam.
Huh.
So, don't know if that's true or not, but it's what I heard.
It didn't work for me.
Well, yeah. It was never a problem with you, I'm betting. Yeah. So anyway, let's continue our journey, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Oh, yeah.
I really love doing it. I love doing it. Huh. All right, this is a different one. This one's called 3 Claps, which is just about the applause that I've earned. So this happened to me when I was about 11 or 12. My brother and I were home alone, and while he was on the first floor watching TV, I was on the third floor in my room. My house is a two-family, so my grandparents live next door to us, and the third floor of our house has 2 separate rooms in it. Both rooms were considered to be mine. One of them had my bed, and the other had my dresser and desk, etc. Anyway, I had a small dollhouse that was set up in my bedroom, and I was playing with it. It was set up against the wall, though, so I couldn't see the door behind me while I was playing. Now, my house was very echoey, and you can hear pretty much anything that happens. We also have a very little carpet, so that only causes more creaks and echoes throughout the house. The set of stairs leading up to the third floor are the loudest out of all the stairs, so even if the door to my room is closed, I can clearly hear if someone is coming up, and I would also hear that my brother was watching TV on the first floor. I could clearly hear what the characters were saying as well. I'd been playing for about an hour when I suddenly heard 3 very fast, distinct claps right behind my head. It sounded like whoever had just done this couldn't have been more than a foot behind me. I turned my head around so fast, expecting to see somebody, but nobody was there. I stood up and ran down the stairs as fast as I could, screaming. My little brother was just as scared because he had no idea who could have done it, because he had been downstairs the entire time. To this day, I still don't know what or who clapped, but I don't think I'll ever forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. And I think in cases like that, what I envision or what comes to me is somebody going, "Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" You know, just like, "Hey,
I'm over here."
Right.
Hello.
So,
Are you still have it on Dawn Cam?
I might.
You do, because they're just talking about putting fangs on me and calling me Count Don Van Helsing.
We're going to call this the Longbeard Portal Edition. No? Okay.
No.
All right, let's get me on camera.
No. Yeah, there you go.
Let's go to me.
There you go.
More me now.
What a sexy bean you are.
The beans. I'm a bean. Okay. What is this one? Oh, yeah, that one.
Oh, no, Vamp, that's horrible.
What did she say?
She said another idea for a shirt is to say, "Bean here, nunk that." Oh, my goodness.
Oh, those colloquialisms. All right, so continuing on. Bean here, nunk that. Wow. All right, let's continue. Possible sighting in Tasmania. What is this? That's a video. I can't do that because I don't want to show somebody else's video and get a copyright claim.
Yeah, no doubt.
Dwarf in the wood. Let's see what this is. I like this kind of stories. I was walking in the backwoods near Hickory Lane Trailer Park in Diamond, Montana. MO is Montana, right? Or is that Missouri?
It's Missouri.
Missouri. What's Montana?
MT.
MT. Okay. MO is Missouri.
Misery.
Near Diamond, Missouri. Now I'm saying Missouri. It was a nice spring day when I started my walk. The birds were singing and the leaves were just budding out. I was near a small open area in the woods when I heard a sound, which sounded like something hitting wood. Now, I had heard some stories of Bigfoot in the woods, and I was thinking that I was hearing wood knocks. After a few minutes, the knocking ended, and soon I heard something walking through the underbrush. Soon what I saw made me pinch myself. It was a man dressed in what appeared to look like medieval clothes, mainly a blue-collared shirt, brown pants, and a red hood. And he had on brown leather boots and a belt on his back. And on his back was a bundle of wood, and in his hand was a small axe. But what shocked me was the fact that this man was only 3 feet tall. He walked into the clearing, and as soon as he saw me, the man turned his face, and I saw that his face was clean-shaven. Blue eyes looked at me as he soon said, "Good afternoon," and soon walked away into the woods. That's awesome. I at first thought it was some person who was a midget who might have lived in a house in the woods, but I later checked Google Maps and soon found out that there are no houses in those woods. I'm still wondering if I had really seen a real dwarf. No, you saw a gnome. You saw a gnome. Oh my goodness. I gotta peel my foot. I always go barefoot.
Oh,
and
God.
I get shoe leather on the skin of my foot. You know, it's like the bottom of my feet is like shoe leather.
He needs a pedicure.
I don't think anybody wants to touch these things.
Little pink toe polish.
No.
Yes.
But I do have really thick skin, and it tends to crack.
I have really thick skin, too. That's why it seems like I don't care.
I think we're talking about different skins here, Don.
Yeah.
Just saying. I love that story. I love the little folk.
That was a good story, yeah.
And the whole idea of them just living around us, just to me, is just such a magical idea. I just love it. I just love this whole intrigue and mystery of them just being around, and the fact that it just said "Good afternoon." You know, it was just like,
and then disappeared.
Hey,
how you doing? You coming back from the?
I mean, wouldn't you try to take up an opportunity to say, you know, I've never seen one of you before. You know, I'd just love to talk, just to hear what it would say. What would it talk about? What are its experiences? What is the world through his eyes look like?
About 3 feet.
Well, I mean, everything's much taller, clearly, but
you see that clearing over there? No, yeah. Neither do I.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I mean, I know tongue in cheek, and there's a lot of funny things. But I mean,
that would be cool. You know, I mean, to sit down and have a talk with another.
What has he seen? What has he seen through his, in his hidden world that exists right around ours that we're not really aware of?
Oh, you know what I'd ask him?
What?
Do you have any mithril?
Mithril.
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 I'm a wee lad, Gimli.
Yeah, you're already a dwarf. Don Longbeard. It's a dwarf name, I tell you. Where's Legolas?
Who came in and gave us a thumbs down?
Somebody gave us a thumbs down?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's got to be love. Yeah, I don't know who does that. We get these random one thumbs down on so many of these videos. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing that somebody doesn't like, or if they're just being a bastard. I'm not sure which one it is. And if they don't like something, again, if you don't like something we're doing,
tell us.
You got to let us know what's going on, because I see the thumbs down, but I have no idea what you're referring to. Is it you don't like my face? You don't you
don't like Don's whistling?
No, well, I mean, I would, if there was a thumbs down for that one, that I'd be. But no, I mean, it's just these random dislikes, and it's just somebody being contrary.
Dwarf beard. Pixie, go jump in our beautiful lake.
Oh, if it wasn't for copyright strikes, I'd play your song. I wish I could. The Misty Mountains, or whatever it's called.
Yes, the Misty Mountains.
Yeah. Yes. From the Hobbit.
I thought that was a Pixie. I thought that was a local thing, but I guess that particular term is fairly common throughout the United States.
That is funny, Pixie. You say it, girl. Someone's being a tool. That's all I'll say.
I know somebody who calls their ex that.
Don Dwarf Beard.
Not that.
Oh, sorry. Really? Yeah, I know. I see what she said. Huh. Oh, Vamp D, did you feed the cats? D, it's good to see you, by the way. Nice of you to come in. Did she just get in, or has she been?
Yeah, she's late to the show as usual.
Oh, D, you and Vamp need to coordinate.
Yeah, I know. Teach her where and so portal time is 2 hours before your current time.
Yeah, I hear you, Sean. Sean says, when I get a thumbs down on my videos, it's because they cannot read. When I say something, it's a review of an episode of something, like it's my fault they can't read. Yeah, I know. I know Sean on his channel does reviews of different movies and stuff.
Oh, Dee said she fed her cat troll meat. I might explain why that one disappeared.
Yeah.
That one disappeared about 2 weeks.
It acquired a flavor for it, and now it's hunting.
Oh, it's going feral for troll.
It's going for troll. Let's head in the woods. All right. Before I sound like Kev Baker here, let's go. No, Kev's funny. He's a good guy.
Oh no, that's wonderful.
But I love that dwarf story. I'd love to
just sit down and have a talk with him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that was an opportunity. Good afternoon. It's like, let's talk. I want to know. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what's going on. Where do you live?
Pull up a toadstool.
What's the wood for? You building, burning? What's going on? What do you eat? You know?
What do I eat?
What do you eat? What do you little people eat? You know, I would just love to ask questions, but because that's like a hidden world. It could be very well be around us, and these stories like this continue to pop up. Now, this is in Missouri, okay?
Missouri.
Near Hickory Lane Trailer Park. The woods behind Hickory Lane Trailer Park near Diamond, Missouri. And I don't know when it was. Well, this was posted a year ago. So I guess about a year ago, if this was I was walking, it doesn't say when it happened to the person. This is just when they wrote it on this thread. So it was spring. The birds were singing. The leaves were just budding out. Oh.
Nice.
Near a small open area in the woods when I heard a sound. Yeah, I just love those stories. To me, they're just, I don't know. I've never been given the opportunity, but I would definitely sit for hours.
I know what his name was.
Who?
Nomeo.
Oh.
Dory says it's near Joplin, Missouri.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, if you're ever in that neck of the woods, or if you live in that neck of the woods, go out and check out those woods. Let us know.
Isn't that the Show Me State?
Yeah, well, I guess it is. Missouri's Show Me State.
Yeah, show me that one.
Yeah, apparently they are. So, cool story. I really, really do love those. I don't know what it is about that whole idea, but to me, it's just magical.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The first of many. It all started when my son, 1 to 2 years old at the time, my boyfriend, and myself moved into our new apartment. We had just recently moved to a different state and we were desperate for an apartment. It started off very oddly and almost subtle. My son would have fits and not want to sleep in his room. Something completely unusual for him, as he'd gotten used to sleeping on his own very early on. Well, he would fall asleep with me, and then he'd take him to his bed. In this apartment, though, he would wake up screaming and crying. I would rush to meet him, and as he was already running back to me, and he would be shaking, and I started to get worried, having been raised in a religion where monsters are real, but I didn't let it affect me too much. I would pray with him before bed, something I've always tried to do with him, and then put him to sleep. It never mattered where he was actually put to sleep. Once he was left alone, it was the same thing. This happened often, but not every night. Anyway, gradually things started getting worse. For the sake of the story, I need you to picture an apartment. It was very literally a giant square made up of 4 rooms, a small bathroom, and a small hallway that connected all 5 rooms. Edit. Tried to make a layout of it, but it was not working. So I fell asleep in my room, R2, which is, I guess, room 2.
Room 2. R2, where have you been?
And I always have the door open with the hallway light on out of habit because I'm afraid of the dark. My boyfriend is working a late shift and won't be home until 3 to 4 a.m. So I wake up with my kid talking in the living room. At first I thought it was his father, so I call out his name and I get no answer. So I call out again a bit louder, still half asleep, groggy, etc., when my son shows up at my bedroom door, all excited, and this conversation happens. Son, mommy, baby Sala. Living room. Come, mommy, baby. Me, wake up completely. What? What baby? Is Dada here? Son, no. Mommy, baby Sala. Come, mommy, baby Sala. Call him by his name as he's heading back to the living room. Come here. There is no baby. Come on, let's watch SpongeBob. Son, no, mommy, baby. Call baby. Starts to do that motion everyone does when they are trying to get an animal to come hunched over, slapping his thighs. Come, baby. Come, mom. My mommy see you. Come here, baby. At this point, I'm freaked out, and I told him to tell the baby to go away and that it can't come in the room, which he did. Sorry, baby. No, come, baby. Mommy, no. And then he just walks into the room. I promptly shut and locked my bedroom door and turned on the light. I didn't sleep until my boyfriend got home, and I told him what happened. There are so many more, but they can be quite long, so I don't want to post them unless anyone wants to hear them, and I would be more than happy to share. This is back in 2008, 2009, and there are stories from when I was younger, though they didn't happen directly to me, but to my siblings. Sorry if it was really long. So sorry. I don't know what you.
What's? I'm sorry. Where was her son when she shut the door? Did the son come in her room?
I think so. Yeah. Sorry, baby, no come, mommy, no. And then he just walks into the room.
Okay.
I promptly shut the door and locked my bedroom door and turned on the light. Yeah, very, very weird.
Wow.
Eesh. Again, with the whole baby child spirit thing. I don't believe it.
It walks in. It comes in the room on all fours, but it's, backwards, crawling.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so this one is by a security guard. I work as a security officer primarily in apartment complexes and hotels. I was working a relatively well-known complex tonight. It's a 40-story complex with a large park in back. My duties are to patrol the building, parking garage, and the park. While I was on a routine patrol, I heard a horrible screech for help just around the corner. I ran around the corner and down the hall and saw no one. I heard it again, this time in the stairwell. This horrible, high-pitched woman's voice screaming like someone was killing her. I ran into the stairwell and saw a woman standing there staring at me. It was a cold, horrible stare. She was dressed in older-looking clothes, maybe early 1900s. I asked if she needed help, and she just screeched. The same horrible screech. I had no idea what to do, so I told her she needed to quiet down and tell me what's wrong. After that, she ran up the stairs. I took off after her, and when we reached the next floor, I heard the door slam, and I went out the door too, and I saw her about halfway down the hall, and she said in a normal voice, "Don't make me kill you." At this point, I was blown away. I started to back up in case it came down to a shootout or something awful, so I had some distance and cover. I turned my head to see where I was going, and she was gone. The question I have is, how much danger am I in? What precautions should I be taking? Thanks a lot for any input. I don't know. I'm going to give it a big I don't know.
Big giant question mark.
Authorities would agree with me that we don't know. Seems you've encountered a banshee. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'd say you'll be fine as long as you let her do her job.
Her job is to tell you you're going to die.
Which, after the warning, seems you have. So she ought to have no reason to bother you afterwards. I think the worst thing will be explaining in a report what I saw, is what his next response is. Do you have to make a report? If so, why not just say it was a lost trespasser or something, just walk through? And he says, I will have to make a report because our company policy is that if something may be a safety threat to people or property, it needs to be written up. I called our patrol guy and explained what happened, and we were going to clear the building. Good luck then. I doubt you'll see her again, though. We didn't see her, just some stuff knocked over on the floors that is under construction, probably a rat or a raccoon or something. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. She disappeared or she just outran him or what? Oh, help. I've seen Slenderman.
Oh, God.
All right, well, I might as well read it. I mean, it's a real phenomenon that people report. But do you have anything else to read, Don?
Yeah, I can read over your shoulder. When I was really young.
How about you? How about your own stuff?
Something I
did you find anything else?
I did.
Oh, good. Because I want to eat one of these meat rolls.
One of those meat rolls that I've been just sitting here going, don't eat them all, don't eat them all.
Yeah, don't eat them all.
Good.
Gotta save them. Fresh meat rolls.
Fresh basement meat rolls.
I know, I was thinking that too. All right, and let's go to Beard Vision.
All right. Again, why? And you're going to stick me here for like 10 minutes. People are going to want to like draw fangs on me on
Just
the
remind
screen.
Me.
They're going to draw on the screen. Oh, Don needs fangs.
But the nice thing is it's
needs
only their
eye patch.
It's only their screen.
Arg. All right. It was the middle of the night, and I had just gotten out of my soft bed to investigate a noise that had woke me up. I checked the digital alarm clock next to the bed, 2:47 a.m. Ooh. As for the noise, it wasn't a crash, a clang, or breaking glass that would suggest a regular burglary. No, it was more a strange kind of a long, slow slurp. Robbers were not uncommon in that poor town that I won't name for security reasons, so I always stashed my trusty shotgun under my mattress. You can't get a shotgun. Never mind. Pulling it out, I walked cautiously towards the sound of the noise, and as I got nearer to the kitchen, I suddenly realized a harsh white glow from outside, shining through each window in the house. Ooh. When it got a little brighter, I could make out the shape of what seemed to be a bundle of blankets. Turning on the kitchen light, I noticed the otherworldly texture of this. I guess it was a cocoon. The first thing I saw was the color. Sick greenish blue like the ocean. That's a harsh thing to say. Without even touching it, I knew the material was smooth, hard, and glassy. While I studied the cocoon, I didn't realize that the glow from outside had become much more harsh in the short span of 2 minutes. In all of my curiosity, I had forgotten to panic, so I quickly called my uncle. I don't know why. It's just the first number that came to my head, but was answered by a loud, static ring. I hung up and called again, this time responded by the same sound, only quieter, but with a deep, distorted voice repeating the phrase, "Wake up, you're dreaming." The voice continued on and on about 10 times before I finally woke up, heart thumping, drenched in sweat. What a night I had, I mumbled to myself, before showering and going downstairs to eat breakfast and watch the news. In the kitchen, I found my dog sitting, tail wagging, in the exact spot that the cocoon had been in my dream the last night. Strangely, I don't remember letting her in. Then I noticed that she seemed manufactured, artificial, if you will. Her eyes large and black, her tail wagging slowly in the exact same motion over and over again. But the weirdest thing was that she wasn't breathing. I decided she was ill, so I picked her up to take her to the vet. Or at least I tried to. She was heavy, almost as if someone had superglued her to the floor. I started to feel sick and turned on the news, only to find out that my uncle had died at 2:47 in the morning. The exact time shown on my alarm clock in my dream. I suddenly hear the whirring of machinery and the clank of metal, followed by a similar sound to the one I heard last night. I turned around slowly, heart pounding in my ribcage, and I saw my dog. At least what I thought was my dog, hunched over a cocoon shaped like my cat. The dog, the thing, looked up at me and smiled a human smile, except for the thin, pointy teeth, far too many to be canine, and I realized it wasn't a dream. I've stayed away from animals ever since.
Wow.
Really?
Hell?
No, wow. No, yeah, well, no, let's find all of those everywhere.
Eek.
Ooh, the creepy neighbor. Everybody's got a creepy neighbor except me.
I think I am the creepy neighbor because I don't have one. You know what they say? If you don't have one, it's probably you.
One of two people are always the creepy one. Always look to your left. Guess who's to my left?
Oh, I'm not your neighbor, though. Just while we're doing the show.
Just
during the show.
All right, so let's see. This happened about 3 weeks ago, and to this day, I'm still creeped out. Well, it was only 3 weeks ago, so creeped
to
out.
To this day, still 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Ooh. And hope that the man never returns.
Hope and change.
Oh, my goodness.
Does that scare you a little?
Yes. Okay. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I just finished my 3rd year at my local university. Tired of living in the dorms, I wanted my own apartment, and was lucky enough to find an apartment close to the school. At first, pulling up to the place, it looked like a dump, but with the deal of only $300 a month plus utilities, it was worth the hassle. Walking to the front desk, I looked around. Front desk? It's an apartment building. Why do they have a front desk? Walking to the front desk, I looked around, and the place was worn down, almost looks like one of them Motel 8s that are cheap and the wallpaper is falling as well. Oh, okay. I've already bought the place, paying 3 months worth of rent, and the landlord was showing me to my room. I was on the 3rd floor, so with the elevator out, I had to carry boxes up the stairs, which only made me dread this place even more. The landlord was creepy himself. Let me describe what this guy looked like. He weighed about 300 pounds and was sweaty, and about 50 in mid-50s to be exact. About in mid-50s to be exact. His teeth were yellow and his voice was harsh. He complimented me saying, "It's been a long time since we've had a pretty college girl living here." I was disgusted and creeped out. This is not something I wanted to hear. Once I arrived to my room, he unlocked the door, letting me go first. When I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the room was actually decent, but still looked run down. I couldn't exactly get my deposit back, so look, oh goodness, sometimes I wonder how they write these things. I couldn't exactly get my deposit
with crayons.
Back. So it looks like I was stuck. Setting my boxes down, I couldn't help but notice the landlord walking toward me, placing his disgusting hand on my shoulder, saying, "You'll fit in well here. If you need anything, just let me know."
Yikes.
It's more like, you'll fit in well here. If you need anything, let me know.
Yeah.
Gosh. I just thought that described me pretty darn well. God dang it. Cringing at the thought and his hand on me, I forced a smile, pulling back away from him. "Thanks. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to start unpacking my stuff," I said, watching as the man left, shutting my door behind him. What was I getting myself into? This guy was a total creeper. Shaking the counter off, I started to unpack, going to my car and loading up boxes to take upstairs. Once I unpacked it, I was already late and I wanted to get some laundry done. Walking toward the washing machine that was in the laundry room down the hall, I noticed another male was sitting down washing his clothes. Offering him a smile to be polite, I started to load my clothes in the washer, but I could just feel his eyes leering on my body, checking me out. The man looked homeless, but he was young, probably mid-30s. Leaving to go back to my room to take a shower while my clothes were washing, it was about 20 minutes when I heard cries outside my door. Turning off the water, I listened as someone was breathing heavily, and slowly I walked to the front door. Moving towards the keyhole, I went to look, and seeing the creepy guy from before who was washing his clothes peeking through the hole at me.
Jeez.
Backing up, I cursed at him. "What the hell? Get away from my door, you pervert." I screamed, hitting the door, watching again through the hole as the male rushed back to his room, slamming the door behind him.
Wow.
Yeah. After getting dressed into my nightclothes, I left my room, shutting the door, going downstairs to the front desk where the landlord, Ralph, was. I complained about the man peeking through my door, but the landlord shrugged it off. "Don't worry, darling. No one will do anything to you. Some people are curious of new people who come in. We only have a few tenants, and they have been here for years." Angry was not the way I would describe how I felt about the landlord. Was pretty much not doing anything. Walking away back to my room, slamming the door behind me, I cursed, forgetting all about my laundry, and left once again for the washroom. Getting my clothes out to dry, I tensed, noticing the same male looking at me from the doorway of the washroom. He coughed. "Hello, I'm sorry if I frightened you. I was just curious about the next neighbor. You're pretty. What's your name? I'm Nick." Scoffing, did this idiot think I was going to give him my name? "How about you stay the hell away from my door and leave me alone," I said before walking back to my room and shutting the door. After an hour, I folded my clothes and turned down for the night. It was around 3 a.m. when I heard footsteps again towards my door, and I sat up in bed listening to heavy breathing. Ignoring it, I went back to sleep. But it was hard to sleep, not knowing what was on the other side of the door. For 4 nights, I heard footsteps every night and heavy breathing at my door that creeped me out. The landlord wouldn't do anything. The landlord wouldn't do nothing. And half the time, he wasn't even around. So for the first weeks, I hear heavy footsteps and breathing I knew was Nick peeking through the keyhole. One night, though, everything changed. I was reading a book when I heard noises again from the door. Getting up, I went to my door, keeping my peeper spray with me. She has peeper spray that I had just bought. Opening the door, there was Nick standing there with my mail and a dirty smile on his face. A dirty smile on his face.
Not even sure what that looks like, but it doesn't sound good.
Here you go, love. Thought I'd drop these off to you. Mind if I come in, beautiful?
Oh, jeez.
Taking my mail from his grimy hand. No, I don't want you in here, and leave me alone. I just shut the door with his foot, stopped the door from closing as he leaned in very close to me. You know, darling, it's rude not to be nice to your neighbor. I only wanted to give you your mail and check in with you. Pushing it back, I slammed the door hard in his face, quickly locking it, yelling for him to leave me alone. Keeping my ear to the door, I heard his footsteps start to leave, and just to be safe, I looked through the keyhole, which was my biggest mistake. The jerk was doing nasty things on the other side of the door.
No.
He must have spotted me through the keyhole because he was just had one of those smirks and licked his lips. Disgusted, I walked away wanting out of this apartment, but I had nowhere to go and I was far from home. Looking up my school's website, I found a dorm spot available and immediately called to get it. I would leave in 2 weeks at this point. I didn't care about my deposit. We have a fire escape outside that leads to each floor in case of emergencies. But what happened next made me to never want to be alone in the apartment. One day I went out for lunch with a friend from school. Coming back, I noticed my front door had been picked unlocked. Okay. Immediately taking my pepper spray, I walked inside, seeing my clothes all over the floor, and a lot of my panties were missing.
Oh.
I knew who it was, the sick bastard Nick. Picking up my clothes, stuffing them back in my dresser. This really scared me. What scared me most was a photo I found laying on my bed. It was a picture of myself in my robe. Written on the photo was the word beautiful. That sick guy must have taken a picture of me outside the fire escape. I'd had enough and packed my bags and wanted to get the hell out of the apartment after weeks of his harassment. Just as I was packing my clothes, opened the door to leave, I will have my best friend's brother come with me to get the rest of my stuff. There Nick stood outside the door with a pleasing grin. Why are you leaving, beautiful? You know I did enjoy your company. I only shook my head. You're a creep. You're Y-O-U-R. You're a creep. You're a creep.
Good thing she's in school.
Yeah. I said, walking away with my suitcase, but I just got down the hall and I heard footsteps. He was following me. I felt the grasp on my arm, stopping me mid-walk, pulling my back against his chest. You really should stay. I elbowed him hard in the stomach, pulling my arm free, and took off to my car. Getting in my car, I wasted no time leaving. Never will I forget the experience or even trust apartments near my city.
Jeez.
God knows what the guy would have done had he caught me one night or decided to break in when I was sleeping.
And that's the problem.
Could have been a psycho killer.
That kind of behavior just escalates. I mean, that's a sickness. It really is. I mean, it's if he's willing to cross that barrier and go into that house when she's not there, that's an incredibly dangerous situation.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry that wasn't very paranormal, though.
Oh, it was plenty paranormal, just not the good kind.
Just not the kind we like.
Oh, or maybe it's normal and I just lead a sheltered life. But, yeah, I don't think that should be normal.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Regla.
Yeah, Regla came in. Gots to love it all. All right. Continuing on, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh. Demon Wolf Reaper.
Oh.
That sounds lovely. Oh, I never did read Slenderman, did I?
Oh.
Let's read the Slenderman.
Okay, read Slenderman.
So we're in kind of overtime now anyway. It's 9 o'clock. But
we are? Wow.
Yeah. Goes fast.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. So we're continuing on, ladies and gentlemen, because we just love you so much. We're giving you more of us than normal. Right, Don?
Yes. More than normal.
More than normal.
The paranormal.
Nice play. That was good.
You.
Well done.
See what I did there?
Yes. All the way through it, I saw. Okay. So this is a help I've seen Slenderman. Because it's not an extraordinarily long. It's pretty short. So when I was really young, I heard about the Slenderman and believed it until my mom told me not to, etc., etc. So now I'm much older and I got into creepypasta again and stuff and was messing around and did a little summoning thing as a joke and stuff. This is a joke and stuff. Mm-hmm. Huge mistake. The capital letters, huge mistake. I immediately felt sort of possessed. It was, and was emotionless all day. I also saw a figure just like Slenderman and figured it was an illusion of light, but I still don't see resemblance. I got into Everyman hybrid, and around this time a channel I watch often on YouTube started uploading ARG stuff. I don't know what ARG stuff, ARG stuff? Capital A, capital R, capital G stuff. I don't know what it means, but it was really weird. The stuff was somewhat personal and about greediness, but the uploader deleted that stuff and uploaded normally. The channel is called Sansikal, Sansikal Extended. This isn't even the weird part yet. Next came insomnia. I still have it to this day. I see Slenderman all around and occasionally for long times. Also, my phone and tablet now cause ringing in my ears, and I wake up with stuffy ears and other weird stuff. I just heard something weird. Okay. So ringing in the stuffy ears and other weird stuff. I went to Yellowstone recently and saw a shadow of him cast over my tent, looming for hours, changing each night. On the drive there and back, I saw him. Yesterday I saw him. Hell, even today I saw him. Don't even start with the whole thing about hallucinations. That's ignorant. Okay. That's what it says. I've told nobody about this. This is really strange. I swear to God, to high heaven, I'm not lying. If I was, I would post this somewhere like Creepypasta, Wiki, or some other place. But in all honesty, I never used Reddit, but need this out there. Okay, very strange. Yes. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, now Slenderman's an admitted hoax. It was a story that was started in Creepypasta and turned into this phenomena.
But with anything, if there's enough people that believe it,
that's true.
It gets a reality. Yeah, I mean, it has reality in mind, then it has reality. So it's how powerful we all are, ladies and gentlemen, that things like that can take a reality just because of the amount of people believing in it. Mm. So feeding it all that fear and stuff, it becomes manifest into somewhat of a perhaps sentient creature. I don't know. But
Frosty the Snowman was a sentient creature as well.
Yeah, well, just saying. Just putting it out there. I'm sure there's been some Frosties. Now, when I was younger, I believed in, of course, in the whole Santa Claus thing, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I must have been about 12, and I was staying over at my best friend's house, and I was kind of getting to the age where it was like, kind of starting to question it, getting, confronted by the fact that a lot of people didn't believe in Santa Claus and thought I was being foolish. And it was really an emotional period. But now my buddy and I mean, we were in his bedroom and I was sleeping overnight and we were kind of talking about it. And as we lay there, we both saw a very distinct shape of an elf in a Santa hat come through the window. And so his bedroom window was right behind the headboard of the bed. And then they had the footboard. And on the footboard was this silhouette of an elf.
Huh.
We both turned around and looked. In the window, there was nothing obstructing the outside street light coming in. There was nothing there. And I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked. And there was no rational explanation for why that silhouette was there. Because there was nothing there that should have caused that silhouette to appear. I mean, he had these real sheer type of bedroom curtains, but nothing that should have caused that silhouette. But I witnessed it. He witnessed it. We looked for an explanation for it and just went, well, there you go. It's real. And it really was real. It was really there. And to this day, I can still see it in my mind very vividly, but I still don't have an explanation for why it was there because there was nothing creating that break in the light. But true story. So, was it my belief that made it real? Was it our belief together that made something manifest that would reinforce those beliefs? I don't know. Is that a possibility? Yeah. So
Satan Claus?
Yeah, I don't know. But it was little. It was like a little mini elf, but it was there. So
interesting.
very strange, but very true. To make a long story short, this is the Demon Wolf Reaper.
Demon Wolf.
I'm a 22-year-old male, and I've been through a lot more than I care to admit due to time constraints, but all that I've been through has made me a very rational, firm, and strong individual. However, I will disclose that I am a former San Francisco, California Treasure Island Job Corps student, and upon completion of the program and graduation, I had to live in a homeless shelter in Vallejo because I had originally moved from Virginia back in September of 2014. I was in a foster care since the age of 12 years old, so I saw some stuff and went through some stuff that I didn't want to, and because of that and who I am, it left me without a family or friends. So upon moving to California, I settled in with a guy that I had been talking to 6 months prior to my move. I had an abusive one-sided thing with him until I grew a pair and cut him off, since I was at Job Corps at the time, residing there as a student resident in their dorms, because some stupid stuff went down, and I beat he who will not be named names, but so he threw me out. Okay, now it's in really different type, but it says, fast forwarding back to the homeless shelter in Vallejo, I managed to get a full... What the hell am I reading? Why is it all chopped off?
I don't know.
That's strange, right?
Yeah.
It's not just me, right?
No.
That's bizarre. Let me just see if it's cuttable. Maybe I can cut and paste it. Oh, look at that.
Oh, well, there you go.
That is really terrible.
Wow.
Okay, so I can't finish it, ladies and gentlemen. I actually have to copy it into a document so that I can see what the hell it says. So hold on. I'm getting there. All right.
Hello, Cortana. Go the hell away.
Well, right now I need her because she's going to give me WordPad. Okay. So it is quite long, actually. Jeez. All that was tucked in those lines. Fast forwarding back to the homeless shelter in Vallejo, I managed to get a full-time job at Six Flags Summer. Summer came into full swing and school let out, giving us more business. After saving up a considerable amount of money, a friend of mine from Job Corps offered to let me move into his parents' house with him in Sacramento until I could get on my own feet. As we started living together, I could say for the first time I knew what it was like to have a family. This guy, however, was someone I had a crush on. When I told him, he simply responded that he already knew and that it was obvious and that he found it funny that I thought I was hiding it from him. He dubbed me with the nickname of generic anime girl, but he admitted that he wasn't sure if he liked me the same way back, only because he claimed to be bisexual, but that he was on the fence with it. But he admitted feelings for me being there, and he couldn't explain. And so eventually he offered to do a roommate thing with me once he graduated from Job Corps. I'm going to blow up this font because it's quite small. It's quite a long story. Good God. It's longer than I thought. I'm going to go to 14-point font on this since it was 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
Microscopic.
About 3 weeks of being at his place, he called me one night, freaking out, and while apologizing, he confused me. So he told me that he had been in the area all day and was at the river with his friends for the afternoon since it's unbearably swelteringly, blisteringly hot as hell here in Sacramento during the summer. He called to tell me that he had forgotten to invite me and felt like the worst friend in the world. And that was something I laughed at. I told him he was busy and had a lot on his plate. I told him it was no big deal and that all that mattered was he had fun. Although, when he told me he had a girlfriend starting that day, I was really disappointed and depressed, but I'm genuinely supporting him, and we are still best friends to this day. But I caught myself spiraling into episodes of anger when I stopped to think about it. It was like depression, but without any enthusiasm to be sad. All I could feel was anger, and sometimes I didn't feel like it was even me. And despite all the effort to feel otherwise, I was utterly exhausted for no apparent cause. I hadn't been staying up late or anything. I ate pretty decently, and I took care of myself while juggling my new part-time job at Pizza Hut. One day I received a package in the mail. Creepy stuff started happening afterwards. Before I say anything else, I need to mention that with me being a highly energetic person compared to my friends' huge contrast of apathy and lethargy, 90% of the time, he never took anything serious, especially for me, because he did not care enough if it didn't catch his interest, or my hyperactiveness always made it seem like I overreacted to every little thing that made me excited, which was true for the most part. I really hyper. It says I really hyper, and annoying like an ankle biter or some kind of puppy. Anyways, I had ordered a spiritual healing wolf bracelet from a charity program for wolf conservation reserves, where the money for the bracelet went to fund the conservation programs for injured wolves. I was pretty stoked to finally have my bracelet after waiting 3 excruciating weeks. The description said the bracelet was crafted by Indian natives using recycled materials from nature that they imbued with a protective veil of spiritual energy, kind of like a dream catcher but on your wrist. The first day of wearing the bracelet, I had to work that day, so I had to take it off during the duration of my shift. I have bipolar disorder and acute anxiety, mind you, but this day I was seemingly manic with no sign of my anxiety, like it was never there. Even when I was on phone duty, which I hated due to my incessant anxiety, but despite all of that, I was pretty peppy and cheerful that day with no sign of exhaustion either, even though we were being rushed during dinner. All of our dishes were dirty. We had corporate, renovating, and angry customers, but nothing really seemed to bother me. Later that night, around 9 o'clock, I clocked out of my shift and put my wolf bracelet back on before I started walking home. The walk home is a 10-minute straightforward walk that needs you to cross the street and turn into a bend that merges into a suburb complex of private homes. All of the houses were close together and had either German Shepherds or Pit Bulls enclosed in gated front yards, and that were either playful or aggressive. As I walked past them on my way home, they all charged at me from the opposite side of the fence, like they wanted to kill me or something. And for some reason, I felt threatened more than scared, like I was being challenged for dominance or territory. I kid you not, I turned around to meet one of the German Shepherds, and I literally, not metaphorically, but physically and biologically, started growling like a wild animal through my bared teeth. And I roared at it in a pissed-off craze that made it yelp and like a kicked puppy. I could literally see only yellow and red, and I went into a state of hysterical blindness that was fueled by dry rage. I no longer felt like a human being anymore, but a monster. And to make things even more eerie, it was the night of a full moon. I looked up and saw it. I was enveloped in a warm, deep state of calmness, which eventually turned me numb. Everything started coming in through waves, and all of the noises and smells around me became surreally vivid, along with my vision, like I was high or something. I howled at the moon, and after that, I seemingly snapped out of it. As I finally got home, I was exhausted, and I got myself comfortable and went straight to bed, but despite my exhaustion, I couldn't fall asleep. I was wide awake and fueled with anger. With even a little tick and click of the house, I was overwhelmed with so much rage that my stomach started to burn. Time had passed, and it was 3 a.m. without any luck of falling asleep. Suddenly, my friend's dog, Ali, a 14-year-old lab mix, that was old and generally friendly, excuse me, but she came up to me with her hair stiff and her teeth bared. She started growling at me like I was a threat to her or something. My only reaction was to glare at her. I cut my eyes to hers, and she fell silent and skidded for the screen door behind me. She knew how to open it by clawing at it. When she managed to open it, she hauled tail outside, and her tail tucked between her legs like someone had just fired off a gun or something. Confused about the whole situation, I got up and dragged myself to the kitchen to get some water. When I finally made it to the corner of the kitchen, I heard rattling, crashing, scratching, and banging sounds from outside. All of the dogs started growling and barking. I ran over to the window and pulled down the blinds and didn't see anything out of the ordinary. As I was about to walk to the fridge, I heard a very eerie howl that gave me goosebumps and made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I didn't know what it was, but I watched too many horror Reddit post to know that it wasn't anything too friendly. All of the dogs fell silent, and the howling droned on for about 3 or 4 minutes, until it faded into the dead silence of the night. That night I wasn't able to sleep. Today is the second day of wearing the bracelet, and now as I write this, I am trying to suppress an unboundful fit of rage. My friend has 3 younger brothers, and his 2 youngest always quarreled over the stupidest things, and with every whine and moan and groan, I am one step closer to screaming and yelling and cursing at them or slamming their heads into the wall. Now, the dog, Ali, was utterly terrified again. She was attempting to growl, but instead, she could only whine and whimper. She was staring at something in the bathroom that I couldn't see, but obviously she could. I got up and called her name. She ran away from me terrified. I opened the back screen door and she hauled tail outside again, just like last night, but this time it was broad daylight and she huddled herself in her doghouse, shaking like a leaf. Seriously, what was her deal? Later that night I saw a gruesome image of a waking nightmare I had. A waking nightmare, rather, I had. Or at least I wanted to believe it was just a nightmare, but then it felt too real. I swear to God, I had a sleep paralysis episode or something because of what I saw was like something out of Jeepers Creepers or some Stephen King type of stuff. I couldn't get a picture of it, obviously, so I made a crude, rough drawing of what I thought I remembered seeing. But I digress. It was about 8 feet tall. It stood on the balls of its blood-covered, rake-like hind legs where claws protruded from its toes like daggers. It was covered in a shadow cloak thing that seemed to swallow any sight of light or life in the spot it was standing in. It had one bloody hook for a hand, and the other was a paw matted in blood, like its feet with bloody dagger-like claws protruding. Its seemingly anthropomorphic appendages, all 5 of them, it seemed to be wearing a hood with a crooked, jagged, razor-sharp, bloody grin of decaying fangs that stretched ear to ear, where 2 crimson spotlights rested in place of acting as eyes. They looked like portals to hell itself. It had a long, bushy, pointed, matted tail and pointy horn-like ears protruding from the hood. The inside of the hood had a mixture of green, blue, purple, and black gunky smoke or mist, blocking any facial features that it might have had. All I smelled was sulfur, rotting eggs, biological decomposition, and death in general, as it was looming right over me. It was teetering its bloody claw back and forth, as if it were teasing me, taking its time to torment me as it relished my sheer terror. No matter how badly I wanted to, I couldn't move. I closed my eyes and I started thinking about my friend, and he is the last face I would want to see before I died. After about half a minute, I opened my eyes and it was gone, along with the smell. I got up, covered in sweat, and noticed my bracelet was still on. Maybe it's just me, but I think the anger can manifest itself into unpleasant things. Maybe I'm looking too deep. Maybe I just need to take the damn bracelet off. We'll see. That was quite a story.
It was quite a story, but I'm kind of confused. So she got the bracelet, went to work, and she took it off because she was working for Pizza Hut. Okay, so she took it off, and all day she was fine except her general anxiety about working the phones.
Yeah.
But her bipolarness and her anxiety otherwise was gone.
Right.
So she was bipolar and had anxiety before she put the bracelet on. Put the bracelet on, took it off. It was gone for a couple hours. Put it back on and turned into a demon werewolf.
No, she saw.
Well, she saw the demon.
She had a vision of that, but she was basically feeling this unbridled rage, and dogs were charging at her when she was wearing the bracelet, and she would be like turn and growl and felt, you know.
Well, yeah, I got
I mean,
all
so
that, but
so she was personifying this I don't know, this
right.
being that she ended up seeing was what it seemed like to me.
Right, but so why, when she took the bracelet off for the first time, why did it seem like all of her ills went away? It kind of weird.
Well, it's like the bracelet is the problem, in other words.
Well, yeah, but she had the problems of She had the problems before the bracelet.
Yeah, I don't
Then
know.
she put the bracelet on for a couple hours, took it off for a couple hours, and she was fine. But then she puts it back on, and now she's got this manifestation going on.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't write these. I just read them, but I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. But strangeness, ladies and gentlemen,
is the portal's middle name.
it is the portal. And what you get is a whole lot of weirdness and hopefully a few laughs.
Oh, well, yeah.
So hopefully we delivered. I hope you have enjoyed our Wednesday stream. How you doing, Don? You about ready for the evening to
Yeah,
rest?
I'm thinking I'm thinking I'm pretty much done for the night. Because, now I have a hankering for cheesecake. And I blame Pixie and Julia.
Okay.
Apparently Pixie's sending cheesecakes to people.
Who is?
Pixie.
Pixie is.
Yeah.
All right. Just message me. I'll give you my address.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I haven't been offered. Guess you have to beg for them.
Or you have to bring it up like that, which is begging.
Putting you out on Front Street.
Yeah, or you got to front her off in public. That might be a good way to get a cheesecake and a whole bunch of other things.
This isn't public. This is Portal family.
It is. You guys are all family. We love you dearly. And thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing, and thanks for all that you've done to spread the word and make us more of a household name than we've ever been. So depends on the house, but
please, not a haunted house.
Yeah, no, that's here.
We're already here.
This is the haunted studios. So
no doubt.
I hope you guys will tune in this Friday for Mr. Christopher Everard, who'll be joining us to discuss the Ouija, and we'll hear about that, and I'm sure 100 other things, because he is a prolific storyteller and factician.
Speaking of,
I just coined that term, I think. A
factician?
Factician. He's a man that can recite facts and stats and, just on the fly. He's just really that sharp. But he'll be on to discuss that. And then, of course, Saturday we'll be rejoined by the Bear for more of the question and answer. And, the portal's just spinning and whirling and twirling and expanding. So
that's right.
No
anything portal
else?
Meetup at Don's house. No.
That was meetup as in MEAT.
Yes. And that's actually a meet up in the basement.
Basement meetup.
Don't forget I have a Ritzel or two.
Did you just tap me?
What? No, I didn't tap you.
I just got tapped on the back of my shoulder.
Paranormal Paul. You can,
right here.
You can look in your
I did. I just looked
see.
over and you were sitting way back there, but I didn't know.
As a matter of fact, I'm watching it right now. You looked over and went,
yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. It was tapped right on the back of my shoulder.
Paranormal Paul.
Or whatever. I don't know that.
Or the footsteps.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Nick the pervert.
From that story. Yeah, creepy story.
Creepy Nick.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know if I got any more to give you tonight, but I hope you've enjoyed the ride. Hope you have liked the video. Please click that like button.
Oh, yeah.
How many likes have we got now, Don?
24.
That's pretty good.
And one dislike.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, well, somebody's just being a tool, but everybody needs a tool.
Well, that's funny. If you add an R and change an O to an L, it's a troll.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But love you all dearly. Be good, be kind, be nice, and help each other out. Take care of each other, ladies and gentlemen. We are all we've got. So we will see you on Friday evening at 10 p.m. Pacific time for the Friday edition of The Portal. And again, Chris Everard and the Ouija.
And just for those people who live in like this central...
Yeah, if you're in, make sure you know that this is Pacific time zone.
Yeah, so
we're talking about whatever LA time is.
It'd be whatever. Well, I'll tell you what time Central Time would be. It would be 12 o'clock, vamp.
Yeah, it would be midnight Central Time, and it'd be 1 Eastern.
Yes, that's correct.
So if you're in the Eastern zone, I really think that's amazing that you guys stay up with us. Then we got guys like Ken, where I don't know what the hell time it is in his world. Down in Oz, but he's always part of the portal as well.
Well, I think it's only like 2 or 3 for him right now in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, well,
yeah, because when we do a 10, it's 5 o'clock. He's cooking dinner usually by that time.
Oh, fantastic! Well, it's 9:30 now. Almost. Yeah, 9:30.
Oh well, yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, it's getting on to be about.
Be about 4:30 Aussie time then.
Yeah.
Okay.
4:30 tomorrow.
Well, God bless you, and we will see you Friday. Take care, and make sure to spread the word about the portal. Tell more people about it. Let them, if you, like I say, if you belong to any paranormal groups, let them know. Let them know about this portal.
This here portal thing we got going. It's a portal thing.
And if you've got a story or an encounter of your own, please email it to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. And we'll be putting together an episode of all listener stories, which will be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that. So please send in your stories, and we'll compile them and do a whole show on things you guys have experienced. Yeah. So love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. And anything in closing, Don?
It's 2:30 in Aussie. Oh, by the way, did I tell you I read this article that said there's no such thing as Australia, and that everybody down there are LARPers? They're paid actors.
I've heard that from a few different places through the years, and it's just...
Hey, Lady Death made it all the way through the show tonight.
Wow. Outstanding. See,
you're awesome.
It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
It's the quality.
I guess we did right if we kept her up, so that's all good.
Either that or my big laughing voices.
Your booming maniacal laughter. Yeah.
Maniacal laughter. All right. Love y'all.
Okay, guys, take care. We'll be back on Friday. Mm-hmm. See you then. And with that, roll the credits.